thank you very much, and I'm thrilled to be back in the great state of Texas, and I'm thrilled to be back at CPAC. CPAC, Matt. The proud patriots here today are the...
Welcome, everybody. Hi, I am your host, your KevinlyFather. This is Trump's speaking live right now at CPAC. Welcome aboard if anyone's tuned in yet. We just started the broadcast. He just started speaking. We'll be pausing and talking throughout this. If you want to chat, go ahead and do so. Just chat on whatever platform you're on, and you're going to show up over there like young Marcy. So here we go.
Beating heart.
It was kind of funny before, well, we can go back just a little bit here. They were playing the God Bless the USA song, and he just stood there. Just look at the guy. Where's the energy? Just stood there while the song was playing. We'll play just a half a second of it here. That song. Everybody knows it. I hate the song now. But look, he just... The song is playing. I'm going to turn the volume off so we don't get a copyright strike. But here's the song playing. That's the end of the song. But there's the song play. He just stands there. Just stands... like for an awkwardly, painfully long time. And then, I don't know if he did the needless microphone touching and adjustment. He probably did. And there, yeah, mic is all set up for him, but he's going to lift it up and put it right back to where it is. So, great work there, buddy.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm thrilled to be back in the great state of Texas, and I'm thrilled to be...
It's a great slate. The great slate.
Back in the great state of Texas.
The great Satan.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm
Isn't America the great Satan?
Well, thank you very much, and I'm thrilled to be back in the great state of Texas, and I'm thrilled to be back at CPAC. CPAC, Pat.
Back at CPAC in the state of Texas.
Today are the
in the great
beating heart
Satan
of the conservative movement. That's true. The beating heart. It all started for me at CPAC, by the way. I don't know if anyone was there a long time ago, but they are incredible.
It did?
And the job that's been done is unbelievable. You are the loyal defenders of our heritage, our liberty, our culture,
liberty,
our Constitution, and
our liberty, our liberty, bibbity.
Never stop fighting for America, and I will never, ever stop fighting for you. Won't happen. Thank you.
Oh. Sounds like a threat, though.
But let's begin this evening by showing our appreciation to our...
How's everyone? Welcome. Marcy, Dog Mother, at random, Tracy, everybody else. Stephanie's here as well. It is 97 degrees out there. I sprinted from the house to the studio because I literally... Excuse me. I was melting. The candles that producer JoJo keeps on her little outside table set, like, melted, and there was a pool of wax across the table.
Two wonderful hosts, two incredible people.
It's got no energy today.
Unbelievable patriots. A family of young ladies that are even more beautiful than they are. I have to say it. They are beautiful. We just took pictures, and it's great to see. Matt.
We just got started, Allison. Anybody want to come up with a drinking word?
And Mercedes Schlapp.
Schlapp. He's quiet. I think I can pump him up.
Great job. Great job. Really incredible. Thank you, Matt. Thanks, Mercedes. And let's also show our appreciation to everyone at the American...
But he is being quiet right now. Hey, Phil. Good to see you. I can also adjust his volume a little bit higher for your sakes, and I hate to do that, but, you know, what are you going to do? Here we go.
Conservative Union, who helps to put this event on. It's an incredible event, including all of the hardworking activists who dedicate their lives to preserving a thing called American freedom. They're incredible people. Thank you, everybody. We're also grateful to be joined by Representatives Ronnie Jackson, my doctor.
Ronnie Jackson.
Where's Ronnie?
Love Ronnie.
Oh. He was the White House doctor. He was a great doctor.
What did he just do? Always coming in asking me to say, stick out my tongue.
Ronnie, Dr. Ronnie. Where's Ronnie? Where's Ronnie? He was the White House doctor. He was a great doctor. You know, he was an admiral
Patriots.
A doctor, and now he's a congressman. I said, which is the best if you had your choice? And he sort of indicated doctor because he loved looking at my body. It was so strong, powerful. But he said, I'm the healthiest president that's ever lived.
No.
I was the healthiest. I said, I like
He didn't say that.
this guy. I don't know. President, so strong, powerful. He sort of indicated doctor because he loved looking at my body. It was so strong, powerful. But he said, I'm the healthiest president that's ever lived. I was the healthiest. I said, I like this guy. I don't know who the hell he is at the time. I said, but I... And he said, I'm going to run for Congress. And there were like 48 people running. I said, Ronnie, you've never done this before. You know, he's a great student at Annapolis, a great everything. Everything he did was great. But he said, I'm going to run. I said, well, let's get you into the runoff. You needed two out of 44. And he made it. And then I said, you know, now we're getting close, Ronnie, and let's get you by the rhino. And we got him by that rhino. And here he is, and he's great. We love you, Ronnie. Great job. Thank you. Another one who's a warrior, and he's a friend of mine, incredible man, Ralph Norman. Ralph, Congressman. Thank you, Ralph. Thank you.
Could be, sir. Everyone, you know, you can just drink whenever you want to.
Ralph taught me a lesson. He was in a race, and it was so one-sided that everybody said, we don't have to vote for Ralph. We don't have to vote. He's going to win by a landslide. So maybe we'll just go out to dinner, and then we'll go back and watch the results. And so many people didn't vote, but he won. And that was the last time that'll ever happen to Ralph. Okay. Right, Ralph? That was a lesson for us all, but he won. He always wins. And Beth Van Dyne, right here in Texas. Right here. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Beth.
Who's got ibuprofen?
A man who's really courageous and a really great guy, and he loves Florida and he loves the country, Matt Gaetz. Where's Matt? Where's Matt? I'll tell you, he's always working, and he does indeed fight for all of us. For freedom is what he fights for. Lauren Boebert, I heard you speaking, Lauren. Wow. I heard you speaking. That was something. I said, who the hell is that out there? And it was Laura. And she had one of the greatest commercials. She said, yeah, anybody can enter my house. Then she takes out her gun, starts spinning around. Oh, God. But he may not leave the same way. This is her commercial. I said, I don't know who that is, but I love her. That was a long time ago, right? And I can say the same thing for Marjorie Taylor Greene, a real champion.
Just one bump.
So popular. So popular. Every time we go someplace, they start screaming for you, Marjorie. You know that. Amazing. Really amazing. Thank you very much. And you're sitting next to Matt. What a combination those two are. Well, they are something. But they are something.
That is correct.
Congressional candidates. Now, look at this guy. He looks like better than Cary Grant. Do you remember Cary Grant? Today, we don't have Cary Grant. So today, we have Rosie O'Donnell. And we have... What happened to Cary Grant and Clark Gable and Errol Flynn? But we have a guy that looks just as good as them. And he's running, and he's going to win. Bo Hines. Bo. Where's Bo? Where is this guy?
He knows Bo.
Great football player, too. Great student and a great football player. And Kevin Kiley.
Hey, Kevin.
Where's Kevin?
I'm right here.
Great job, Kevin.
Thank you.
A man who's one of the hottest politicians in our country.
Hold on. I want to get that. I want to keep that for my records. Boop. And we're recording.
Hi, Bo. Great football player, too. Great student and a great football player. And Kevin Kiley. Kevin? Where's Kevin? Great job, Kevin. A man who's one of the hottest politicians in our country. Married to an incredible woman and respected so much in North Carolina.
Is this Trump's coming out speech? He's talking about how hot everybody is and how the doctor used to like to look at his masculine body.
Carolina, and anybody that sees him or knows him, they immediately say, there's a man that we want representing us, Lieutenant Governor, North Carolina, Mark Robinson. Where's Mark? Thank you, Mark. Great. You're a very popular guy, Mark.
Popular.
And somebody that really took this country by storm, not just the state, but took the country by storm. Tudor Dixon, governor of Michigan, soon to be, we hope, straighten the state out. Tudor is fantastic. Tudor, right. You know, she recently lost her father, very recently, and he's looking down. He's saying, oh, I'm so proud of my daughter. I had met him. I guess that was his last meeting, right? And they were at Mar-a-Lago, and his father was incredible. Great steel person. He was somebody that knew what China was doing. He knew more about China, what they were doing to us in devastation. And we put on those tariffs, and those tariffs work so good. I hope they don't terminate the tariffs, Tudor. But your father's looking down on you right now, and he is so proud.
Well, they've certainly contributed to inflation and to the housing shortage, yeah. All the tariffs on Chinese steel have driven prices, especially in that particular area, through the roof.
He can believe it, you know. He can believe it. It's not like he can. He can because he knew you.
What's going on with baby formula? No one talks about baby formula anymore. Price of lumber's come back down. No one's talking about baby formula. Are we good? Did we have all the formula? Is it back in the market?
Better than anybody. So congratulations. Go get him. Go get him. She's running against a woman whose husband didn't obey any of her orders. She's the shutdown queen, but everybody was shut down but her husband. He was out there canoeing all by himself. Now, normally you wouldn't
He wasn't.
Consider that a bad thing, but when nobody else is allowed to do it, it's not so good.
Well, he didn't do it.
So I think you're going to have a fantastic success today. Nominee for Michigan.
Just so low energy. I think you're going to have fantastic success today. So.
Attorney General. Now, I've known him for a long time. He is so tough. People are afraid to even be in the same room with him.
So here's to you, Colin
Attorney
Robinson.
General. He's going to make sure that you're going to have law and order and fair elections.
Okay, just get past all the introductions.
Politicians in introduced dying. Some of the folks, and everybody was bored stiff. I said, this place is dying. And I'm introducing gubernatorial candidates, and it was like, I said, I got to get through this. This is very bad. There were a lot of candidates. And then I introduced this woman named Carrie Lake, and the place went crazy. Right? The place went crazy.
Oh.
She's an incredible woman. She'll be an absolutely incredible governor, and she'll be looking at everything. They need a good governor out there. They have a rhino who didn't do the job. That's supposed to say that. That's
who supported Trump, who Trump endorsed the last time he ran, but okay.
Not politically correct, but I'll say it anyway. You don't mind.
The deuce.
So, Carrie, good luck out there, and we'll be out there. We'll do a couple of rallies. We'll get 45,000, 50,000 people.
Remember, they did the audit. They did the long fraudit, as many people called it, in Arizona, and it was discovered at the end of it that Biden actually got more votes. All that counting, more votes. They paid for an audit. No, not an audit, excuse me. They paid for a recount, a manual recount. They paid, was it $2 million? Something like that. It was a couple of $1 million in Wisconsin. And Biden got more votes after the recount.
Remember when I get 50,000 and Biden couldn't fill up the 8 circles, and they said he won.
Yeah, because rallies are not how we decide elections.
Fill up 8 circles, and he won. I don't think Carrie feels that way. I don't think a lot of people do. That state has such spirit. It's incredible. So congratulations. That's an unbelievable
Biden did win the election, by the way.
win. Thank you. Good. A friend of mine and somebody...
We are watching We are watching this. We are watching CPAC. We are watching people talk about things at CPAC we do not agree with or endorse their opinions, just so you know.
It was truly one of the best. He was so brave. He was so courageous. Ambassador Rick Grinnell, so brave.
Okay.
Really where the heart of conservative people in this country is. That straw poll is a tremendous indicator of what's happening in our country. And a very special thanks for the amazing support from so many conservative Hispanic Americans in the Americano media straw poll. I got 81% American support from so many conservative Hispanic Americans in the Americano media straw poll. I got 81%. Is that nice? 81. With a second place finisher, I don't even know who it is.
Remember, he was getting high 90s before this.
Second place finisher was at 16%. That's pretty good. So I want to thank you very much. The Hispanic people are.
It was probably DeSantis, yeah. If 16% out of leaving out of 19, that's impressive for whoever that second place person was. Probably DeSantis.
Incredible, and they have really embraced the Republican Party. I say actually they've embraced me, not really the Republicans, but I won't say that because I don't want to get myself in trouble with Matt. But they really are. They're incredible people. They're hardworking, unbelievable. But I've been watching CPAC for years, and as you know, it used to be very divided. You had Ron Paul, and great guy Ron Paul, a little different, very much like his son Rand, who I also like a lot. But Ron's a little different, a little difficult, like Rand. Rand can be difficult. But you know, when they're your friend, they're your friend. But you had the Ron Paul people, you had the Bush people, and of course you had the rhinos. And I don't know, I'm shocked to hear that. But now there's a great feeling of unity.
I cannot find the poll.
You know, when you see poll numbers like that, 99% approval, there was no such thing. There was no such thing. And when you see those numbers, there's a great feeling of unity, not only CPAC, but I think, Matt, in the Republican Party. I think we have to do what we have to do to bring our nation back, right? So as we gather tonight, our country is being destroyed more from the inside than out. America is on the edge of an abyss, and our movement is the only force on earth that can save it. This movement right here. What we do in the next few months and the next few years will determine whether American civilization will collapse or fail, or whether it will triumph and thrive.
I find no evidence of a 91% poll or an 81% poll or 16% for somebody else. Somebody else maybe you can find it out there, but yeah, no.
Frankly, like never before, this is no time for complacency. We cannot be complacent.
Oh, thank you. He's America's explainer, and I like that. It's no time for complacency. We can't be what? Complacent.
This opportunity to deal with the radical left, socialist lunatics and fascists, and we have to hit.
He is struggling to read
them very, very hard. Has to be a crippling defeat because our country cannot take it. You remember when I was campaigning,
and you said that you would go away and never come back if you lost to Joe Biden. I do remember that.
Again, we did much better in the second election than we did in the first, by many millions of votes, much, much better. But I used to say, not thinking this could even be very possible, but it always had a chance. It will be Venezuela, large scale, or Venezuela on steroids. That's what's happening to our country. It's not even thinkable. We have to take this chance to shatter the corrupt Washington establishment once and for all. We have to run aggressive, unrelenting, and boldly populist campaigns. Populist, we want to be populist. We want to love our country. That's what we want. And we have to throw off the shackle.
There used to be an Americanos poll. It hasn't been around for years. The site is now, well, it can't be reached. It's getting a 404 error on the site. That's the Americanos poll. So I don't know
of globalism and reassert two very important words. You know what the words are? America first. It's a very simple thing. We have to put our country first. We had that done, and we were doing great. If we do this, then not only will we fire Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, crazy Nancy Pelosi. What was she doing in Taiwan? Everything she touches turns to bad. I don't want to say it.
To what, bad?
Because I don't want them to say, he used foul language, you know?
Which you do all the time. So why stop now?
I don't want to say, but it does. It turns bad. I got impeached twice.
It turns too bad.
Failed twice. The woman brings chaos, and that's exactly what's happening. What's happened in China right now, what's happening in...
Is you guys okay if I just take a nap?
In China and Taiwan with what's going on, she played right into their hands because now they have an excuse to do whatever they're doing, and I will tell you, it would have never, ever happened in a million years under...
What exactly are they doing besides test firing missiles, which they do? do.
Trump. I can tell you that.
I can tell you that. Never would have happened in a million years. I can tell you that.
We played...
Has he been taking elocution lessons from Jared?
Right into their hands, but we will save our nation and American power. Prosperity and prestige will come back, and it'll come back strongly. Victory can...
Strongly, there's your drinking word.
Prosperity and prestige, but we will save our nation and American power. Prosperity and prestige will...
Prosperity?
Come back, and it'll come back strongly. Victory cannot come a moment too soon. You could take the 5 worst presidents in American history and put them together, and they would not have done the damage that Joe Biden has done to our country in less than 2 years. Sure.
The chip and science bill, the infrastructure bill, bipartisan infrastructure bill, the Build Back a Bit bill, which is going to be passed now that President Sinema has agreed to the terms.
The contract,
which includes things like the largest supplement for green energy of all time. We finally have an environmental bill in this country. Discounts on EVs, discounts on heating for your home, discounts on solar, I believe, was in there. It's allowing the government to negotiate for prescription drugs, which has been a problem for decades, and no one has been able to fix it or willing to fix it. Why? Because the pharmaceutical industry is the largest lobby in Washington. It's not the NRA, it's not big oil, it's the pharmaceutical industry. So lots and lots and lots of good stuff. Plus, freaking Joe Biden gave us a holiday. Juneteenth is now a national holiday. How is that not the best president of the last, let's say, 100 years? What other president has given us a holiday recently? Martin Luther King Day, which would have been... Was that Reagan who did that? All I remember is that Arizona refused to cooperate.
Contrast between the Trump administration's amazing success and the Biden administration's breathtaking failure could not be...
No, he's been doing that 5 presidents thing for a long time, dog mother.
...more stark. Let's look at the facts. I got gasoline for cars. Put it in the tank. Thank you very much.
Gasoline. All this talk about gasoline being so expensive. I'm like, yeah, but what is it used for? Thank you, Mr. President.
$1.87 a gallon. I got it down to... They have it now at $5, $6, $7. A friend of mine from California called me this morning. He just paid $8.55, he told me, California. And you'll follow. You'll follow. It's not even believable.
Is gas... So there's a gas station up on its own close to Silicon Valley where there's nothing for miles, and then the gas station, and then nothing else for miles. It's usually the most expensive gas in the country. I don't know if gas went up to $8.55 there. I think it's been as high as $9 there, actually. But yeah. But it's always a friend. It's always a nameless friend.
With the help of our...
Oh, and thank you, Tom. That's what kind of week it's been. So good that I didn't even think about killing the head of Al-Qaeda.
Great Texas oil and gas workers, we achieved American energy independence. And
gas has come down now significantly, almost $1. Let's see what the national price of gas is. National price of gas, boop, boop. According to AAA, the average gas price is $4.08, so almost an entire dollar off its high. That's pretty good. That's a 20% drop in about a month and a half. That's freaking fantastic. It's still expensive. Gas has always been expensive, but it's now about where it was in 2014.
We were even energy dominant, and we were going to be double the size of Russia and Saudi Arabia combined. We were going to be energy dominant. Now the United States.
Okay, Biden in his first year, because he's only been in office for 1 year, in his first year, granted more land leases for oil exploration than Trump did in his first year. We were energy independent, and we aren't. We're still, as long as you're importing oil, you're not energy independent. But during Trump's last year, 2020, when no one was using oil here, we exported more than we brought in. Okay, so that's what they're calling energy independent. And then last year, under Biden, exactly the same thing. Even though demand had spiked up here, production spiked up here as well. In fact, right now, Biden's America is producing more American oil than in 40 of Trump's 48 months in office.
States is becoming a beggar for energy. We're begging. We gave you the largest tax cuts and regulation cuts in American history. That's why we had the job numbers. And don't forget...
The tax cuts, that's nonsense. They're not the largest in history, not by a long shot. Regulation cuts, maybe? Because a lot of the regulation cuts he talked about actually never happened. A lot of the stuff that he said he was going to do wasn't done properly, and so they were all rescinded.
Yeah, you have not good job numbers right now. They're not counting all of the millions of people that aren't working. If you look,
that is what the unemployment rate is. It's 3.5. It is the best unemployment rate of my lifetime. The best since 1969.
Looked at the real numbers, that 3.5 would be double that. Maybe some people say triple that.
Or not. I mean, you use those numbers, those same numbers when you were in office.
The radical Democrats now intend to impose the biggest tax hike. Think of this. The biggest. That's now intend to impose the biggest tax hike. Think of this. The biggest tax hike in bad times in American history.
That's nonsense. It's the biggest tax hike for corporations that have been paying nothing and are making more than $1 billion. Yeah, they're going to have to pay a minimum 15% now, which is what most Americans thought corporations had to pay anyway. Remember that Trump brought the tax rate for corporations down to 21%, 23%, depending. But so many corporations don't pay that. They don't pay anything. And so now, corporations, for the first time in American history, I can't say that. Anyway, now they're going to have to pay a minimum. If they make more than $1 billion a year, they're doing okay. This is not your moms and pops.
This
15%
will be what they're doing right now, the biggest tax hike in the history of our country.
No, it's not. It's not even close. It's not a tax hike, except for the very, very wealthy.
The exact opposite of what I did, and they're working feverishly to pile on more.
My taxes went up under Trump because there's no more qualified artist. As an actor, every actor out there, every artist, every painter, every dancer, we can't deduct the stuff that we used to deduct off our taxes anymore because he took away the qualified artist. It's eliminated from the tax code. So all the stuff that I used to drive to auditions, I used to drive between Seattle and Vancouver 3-4 times a week. I could write all that off because I had to do that in order to get to work. If you're a corporation, you could write off all kinds of, you can go to a baseball game, write it off. I could write off the clothing I bought for an audition. I could write off this, that, the other thing, my memberships, my union membership, my telephone bill, etc. All gone. I think I could still do the union thing.
More regulations at levels never seen before. I asked a lot of the big companies.
Actually, no. In the Inflation Reduction Act, there are a lot of red tape. A lot of red tape has been eliminated.
A lot of the biggest and best businessmen. What's more important, the big tax cuts that I got for the country to get it going? And we never had a country going like we had before the China virus came in. We never had anything like it.
No, we had 2.3% GDP. That was it, 2.3%. Remember, he bragged about getting it to 3, 4, 5. He inherited 3.3. He came in with 3.3 right before COVID. The quarter before COVID, I'm throwing COVID out there even though it should count. Remember, he was in charge during COVID. Before COVID, it was 2.3% GDP. He said it would reach 5, 6. It wanted to say more, but didn't want to be criticized for saying it. That's what he said. And then we got 2.3. Never even hit 4.
And then we did it again. We did it again. We did it twice. The stock market was actually higher. It was actually higher than it was pre-COVID, as they say. COVID, such a nice name. I wonder where they got it. Mitch.
Well, it stands for coronavirus infectious disease. And then the 19 was that it was discovered in 2019. That's where the word comes from. But is it such a nice name? I not really roll off the tongue type of COVID. I just caught a disease named COVID.
Mitch McConnell got taken for a ride by Joe Manchin and the group. And the great people of West Virginia have been seriously hurt by these political antics. I love West Virginia. I fought for it. I won by 45 points. 45. Joe Manchin has totally sold West Virginia out.
Did he call him Joe Manson?
Joe Manchin has totally sold West Virginia out. What he's done to West Virginia, I don't believe.
Doughboy Trump. Donald.
I don't believe they're going to stand for it. Let's see what happens.
Okay.
I said this was going to happen. Joe
Let's see what happens.
Manchin is devastating West Virginia. Kirsten Sinema agreed to allow this massive tax increase just yesterday to go forward, only provided that Wall Streeters are allowed to keep their current carried interest provision. It's
the carried interest deduction, which you campaigned on to get rid of in 2016.
Hell of a provision. In fact, I had it ended, and then I ended up getting so much more for it. I would have terminated it. We were all set to terminate, but we got...
Fun fact, he did not.
Many other things for it. They gave up everything to keep it. It's a ripoff. What happened to Manchin and Sinema? What happened? We're trying to figure out what the hell happened. Where did this new philosophy come from all of a sudden?
Well, I mean, they're Democrats and they want to do good things for people.
48 hours. I think if this deal passes...
There's also some incentives in there for the fossil fuel industry. And that's why Joe Manchin decided to come on board. Remember, the guy owns like a coal mine or something.
They will both lose their next election. I do believe that.
And no one knows better what it feels like to lose an election than Donald Trump.
West Virginia and Arizona will not...
Oh my God, Allison says it's $431.30 in New Jersey. And that's down 3 cents from yesterday.
...not stand for what they did to them. And that includes the races that are being run right now. They're not going to take it. And I told the old broken crow, Mitch McConnell, that this was going to happen. No, I said...
I just don't get that insult. Broken crow. The old broken crow. Is that from literature or something?
I said it loud and clear. He should have never approved that fake infrastructure deal. Never approved it. He approved that infrastructure deal for trillions of dollars, and 91% of it is Green New Deal nonsense.
No, it's not. Remember, Trump had Infrastructure Week over and over and over again. Guess how many... Joe Biden passed the Infrastructure Act. Passed it. Guess how many congressional hearings were held on Donald Trump's infrastructure plan? 0. Not one. Not even a committee hearing. Because there was no plan. He never actually submitted an infrastructure plan. All those infrastructure weeks. And if you remember, we watched where he talked about a highway that would take 20 years and he was going to get it down to 1. He did that in 2017. And then in 2019 or 20, he did the exact same press conference again with the same flip down chart, The first time he did it, he ended up, telling us that there was there are very bad people on both sides, or many fine people on both sides. Kind of stole his thunder on that one. Gave that same speech during the campaign in 2016 as well, with the roll down, like how long it takes to build a highway.
There's only 8% to 9% that's actually for infrastructure. But he said, if we approve this one,
that is incorrect.
They will never come back and ask for more. I said, yes, they will. And guess what?
No, they didn't.
What? They're voting on it now.
No, nobody would say that. Nobody.
Now, so maybe this speech can stop him, because when Manchin hears me say he's going to lose West Virginia, and I'll go down and campaign against him as hard as anybody can.
Okay. Manchin's not up for a few years, so it's going to be okay. When is Manchin? The next cycle or 2 cycles from now? I forget.
And when Sinema does that to Arizona, and I will tell you, we have a person that I believe is going to be the next governor. I don't think she's going to stand for it. It's interesting with Manchin. So I got along with him very well. He wanted to know Jerry West could get the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I said, Jerry West, great athlete. Could Bob Cousy get one too? Yeah, Bob Cousy, great, right? Everybody agrees he's great. But I got along with him fantastically well. Couldn't have been better. He called me all the time. We had a good relationship. And he said when the impeachment hoax started, I would never vote against you. You're a great president. I will never vote against you. And when we were counting up the numbers, which we won very easily, by the way, but when we were counting up the numbers, I say, one Democrat I know for sure will never vote against me on impeachment is Joe Manchin. So they're taking the votes, and he voted against me.
Right.
I said, oh, he must have made a mistake. Perhaps he didn't know what they were doing.
That's what you said.
But I said to Mitch McConnell that he will do this, and he will hurt our nation, and he will hurt the Republican Party, and he will hurt...
Do we even know what he's talking about anymore?
Independents, and he's going to hurt the Democrats. He's going to hurt everybody. But Mitch McConnell has hurt our party very badly.
All right. Because he's the broken old crow? Is that why?
Should have never happened. And I said it, and I said it publicly, when they approved that horrible infrastructure deal, and then they go and they do this. And they're not finished yet. They still have a little time left. But McConnell is the most unpopular politician in the country, even more so than crazy Nancy Pelosi. And something has to be done. He raises large campaign contributions for senators, and that's how he holds on to his power. And even I tell some of the senators who I'm very friendly with, which is most of them, you saw the vote, they call, they say, what do we do? All of a sudden.
You saw the vote, but he actually lost the senators, not most of them.
They're offered 20, and it's hard for them to raise money. But McConnell will offer them $20 million because he raises all this money, and he offers them to many of the senators, not all of them. And they'll call me, what do I do? What do I do? I say, take the money. Many of the... It's all right, don't worry about it. He'll end up where he ends up, take the money. They need it.
Okay.
But it's not a good thing. And under the Trump administration, we had the greatest economy in the history
What the hell was that all about?
of the world. We had no inflation. We had no inflation. It was...
We did have inflation. We did have inflation.
Nobody could even believe it. They wrote books, and they're writing books on it. Biden created the worst inflation in 49 years, 9.1%. I believe it's much higher than that, by the way. And it's going higher, costing families nearly $5,000, and now they're estimating $6,000 to $7,000 a year. Think of that, $7,000 a year. After the pandemic, we handed the radical Democrats the fastest economic recovery ever recorded, the history of our country ever recorded. They've turned that into 2 straight quarters of negative economic growth, also known, despite their protestation to the contrary, as a recession. And just hope that the recession doesn't turn into a depression, because the way they're doing things, it could be a lot worse than a recession. and the labor force participation is the worst in many, many decades. That's the number that you have to look at. I rebuilt our military.
Well, yeah, we've got a whole bunch of boomers retiring.
Including our nuclear capability, and we hope to God we never have to use it. But I rebuilt it. They had equipment, and they had rockets, and they had bombs.
Yeah, they had bombs.
No idea if they even worked. They were so old.
Okay.
It's all new or newly renovated, and the power is greater than any power ever in the history of our country, but in the history of this world, and we just hope it never gets used.
So Marcy just sent the solution to Old Crow. So Manu Raju, reporter for CNN, asked Mitch McConnell about Trump's insult that he's an old crow. McConnell's response, actually, it's quite an honor. Old Crow is Henry Clay's favorite bourbon. So Henry Clay is of course, senator, I think, from back in the 19th century, and is Mitch McConnell's hero. So, kind of cool. Fun fact. Thank you. And again, a terrible insult.
And we created...
Crows, by the way, fiercely intelligent and fiercely loyal to their families. Do not mess with crows, because they recognize human beings. If you ever get a chance, befriend a crow. YouTube is full of videos of, like, kids who rescue a crow, and then the crow, like, goes with them to school every day and waits for them to come back out.
Thing called Space Force. They smiled at it. Biden smiled at it. And it's turned out to be...
What?
So important, not, as you know, in Space Force, not for 79 years since Air Force has anything like that been done. 79 years. Air Force was the last one. Now it's Space Force.
It's the Air Force, but okay. He sounds like Buster on Arrested Development. I joined Army, Mom.
Remember the first
Mother.
day they
I joined Army. He never calls her Mom. It's always Mother.
laughed at it. Oh, Space Force. They thought they were going to end it, and the public went crazy because you people know much more than they do.
Oh, yeah.
They
God.
surrendered.
Whoa, I remember the riots in the streets with the people throwing the soup because they were going to end Space Force? Oh, my God.
Our strength and our everything, our dignity, and turned Afghanistan into the greatest humiliation our country has ever seen. Not
Space Force just does what the Air Force was doing. There's nothing new.
the fact that we were leaving, because I was the one that got us down to a small number of soldiers, but we were going to leave with strength and with dignity.
Am I asleep right now? Are we all asleep? Are we having a dream together?
And we were going to keep Bagram.
He's clearly asleep. Has been for the last half hour.
Not for Afghanistan, but because China's nuclear plants are 1 hour away, where they make their nuclear weapons, 1 hour away. It's one of the biggest airfields anywhere in the world. Costs us billions.
So what's the thinking there? That China is manufacturing the nuclear weapons and then flying them to Afghanistan because it's only 1 hour away, and Bagram Air Force. So what if it's 30 minutes away, 5 hours away? I mean, we have planes. What is the advantage? And still, even without Bagram Air Force Base, Biden is able to take out the bitch of Al-Qaeda remotely. What's that called? It's called Beyond the Horizon Capability. Remember what you said, ISIS-X? We weren't going to be able to attack ISIS-X?
Of dollars.
Okay.
Many years ago, I was going to keep Bagram. And you know
good night, Tom.
Who's occupying Bagram right now? China. And
they are not. Well, maybe they are. I don't know.
The fake news doesn't want to mention it.
Okay.
But the way we left was a virtual surrender. When you leave, you don't take your soldiers out first. You take your soldiers out last. After the Americans get out, and you take your soldiers out after your equipment is taken out. And all of that was happening. This is the most incredible blunder, and the fake news doesn't want to write about it because that's bad for them. Look, you don't even hear about so many bad
It's good, Marcy. It's a stream of unconsciousness. Oh, they're just like that, too.
things. You don't ever hear about them anymore. We created the safest border in U.S. history by far. By far.
Okay. He has been saying lately that he finished the wall, that it was done. But then he was saying for months and months that it wasn't done, that it was almost done. Another 2 to 3 weeks. First it was a month, then it was 3 weeks, then it was 2 weeks, and then lately, the last couple of speeches, he said it was done.
And now it's the worst border ever in history. There's never been a border like it, and that includes, in my opinion, third world countries, because there's no third world country that would allow millions of people to pour in. They have no idea. Last month, 141 countries were represented, not just your 3 plus Mexico.
Represented.
141 countries were represented with people that...
What do you say, the 3 plus?
141 countries were represented with people that came in illegally. We're going to be paying a price for this for many years to come in terms of terrorism and crime. We ended catch and release.
By the way, immigrants, illegal immigrants in this country commit crimes at a much lower rate than people who are supposed to be here. And by the way, once they're let in, if they're processed, they're not illegal anymore. So
we deported record numbers of illegal alien gang members, and we built hundreds and hundreds of miles of border wall. In fact, we completely finished our original border wall plan of border wall and alien gang members. And we built hundreds and hundreds of miles of border wall. In fact, we completely finished our original border wall plan, despite 2.5 years of horrible Democrat-inspired lawsuits and
the people who watch him on a regular basis. How does nobody ask? Well, wait, if you completed it, then it's not working at all. You're saying that we have a completely unsafe border, but you finished your wall. You know, the one Mexico paid for.
Litigation.
It is mind-boggling to me that anyone can support this baboon.
And I won all of those suits. And then we started and we did some job, and that gave us these incredible numbers that, frankly, everyone talks about today. And the number.
So the wall just fell down then? Like it just doesn't work anymore? Is that what he's saying?
Of people coming in, that's not 3 million or 4 million. In my opinion, it would be anywhere from 10 to 15 million people this year. 10 to 15 million people. We have no idea who the hell they are. We then added much more of the border wall, and most of that got finished too. 3 weeks.
What? He just said that he's saying that they completed their original plan of border wall. And then completed much more, and that got finished too. What?
It was all it would have taken, 3 weeks, and it would have been completed, the extra addition that we added. The border was the best ever. Think of it. It was the best ever. I went to Mexico, and I said to the president of Mexico, who I like a lot, he's a socialist, but I even like a couple of socialists in the world, about 3. But I said, President, you're going to have to give us 28,000 troops to protect our border while we're building the wall. No, I cannot do that. No, but you have to. No,
that's his Mexican accent. No, I cannot do that. Trump didn't go to Mexico, so I'm not sure. He just said I went to Mexico, right?
He said, President, I went to Mexico.
No, he didn't. He's been to Mexico. He went to Mexico in 2016 to tell them, hey, you better pay for this wall if I win. And Mexico's like, fuck that. And it wasn't, as he's called him, Elmo. There was a different president in Mexico. It was Vicente Fox, I believe, in 2016. I could be wrong. He might have been the former president at that point. Trump visit to U.S. Mexico. Okay. Hold on. Oh, no, I saw an article here. No, he went to the border. He went to the U.S.-Mexico border. Yeah, so that's wrong. Maybe he stepped onto the Mexican side in his defense?
It was the best ever. I went to Mexico, and I said to the president of Mexico, who I like a lot, he's a socialist, but I even like a couple of socialists in the world, about 3.
He's not telling us which president that is, so it's really hard to fact check that.
But I said, President, you're going to have to give us 28,000
President, not named.
troops to protect our border while we're building the wall. No, I cannot do that. No, but you have to. No, I cannot do that. And we started a negotiation. A woman from the State Department, good woman, she said, you won't ever get any of these things. I said to the Border Patrol, who's fantastic, by the way, give me your top 10 things. True. I said, give me your top 10 things that you want. And they gave me 10, and the woman looked at me.
That was Obrador, by the way. AMLO, who he once called Elmo.
She laughed. She said, sir, I've been dealing on Mexico for 25 years. You won't get any. I said, no, I'll get them all.
I moved on Mexico like a bitch.
I'll get them all. Guaranteed. Guaranteed I get them all. And she's smart. She was a good woman, by the way, but she's been doing this for 25 years. She said, you won't get anything. And what happened is the top representative came in. We met in front of this woman and others. And I said, you're going to have to give us 28,000 troops. You're going to have to do a thing called...
Wait, what? Is he still in Mexico in this story? Because have I got it wrong? Because I don't remember him going to Mexico while in office.
Remain in Mexico, 1,000 of this woman and others. But she's been doing this for 25 years. She said, you won't get anything. And what happened is the top representative came in. We met in front of this woman and others. And I said, you're going to have to give us 28,000 troops. You're going to have to do a thing called remain in Mexico. In other words, people can no longer come into our country. You have to remain in Mexico. Hundreds of thousands of people remain in Mexico. And 8 other things, which were in many ways probably, Matt, probably worse, right? Probably worse. And
how would Matt know?
I remember he laughed at me. He said, we won't do this. He thought I was crazy. He said, no, you're going to do it. You will. You do.
Are we talking about AMLO laughing at you?
No, we won't do it. We will not do that. We're not going to give you troops free. We're not going to give you troops, so we're not going to give you remain in Mexico. Why would we do such a thing? I said, because on Monday morning I'm signing an order that every single car that you make and every single product that you sell into the United States will have a 25% tariff on it.
That part actually happened.
And he said, may I leave the room to make a call? I said, yes. 5 minutes later, he comes back. Mr. President, we would be honored to supply you with 28,000 soldiers. We would be honored to accept hundreds of thousands of people all over Mexico and remain in Mexico until we check them out. It was pretty amazing. We got all 10 things. It took about 5 minutes. It took longer to create the piece of paper that he had to sign than it did to win the negotiation. But we don't do that too much. You know, we have a big advantage over China, but people don't know it. We have an advantage over Russia, big, but we don't know it. Nobody knows it. They don't know how to use it.
The number keeps getting higher, by the way. For a long time, it was 21,000. It's actually 15,000 troops that Mexico was... this is in 2018. Mexican troops along the borders, the southern border and the northern border with the United States. But it's 15,000 troops. It's now at 28,000 in his head.
If they did know it. The border was the best and safest in U.S. recorded history. They've turned it into a nightmare so quickly. The election was rigged and stolen, and now our country is being systematically destroyed.
What a crybaby.
And everybody knows it. And this corrupt January 6th of unselect people, they're unselect. They never...
That's not a word.
Comment when I use it. It's the unselect committee, but this
No, nobody ever comments when you use it because it means nothing.
Corrupt group of... They never... 6th...
I commented.
Of unselect people. They're unselect. They never comment when I use it. It's the unselect committee. But
who does he want to comment?
This corrupt group of people. These are the same people that went after me for the impeachment hoax, number 1, number 2. The same people, Adam Shifty Schiff, the same people. They look into the mics, then they lose, and then they go on to the next one. It's a disgusting. If they'd used the same energy to go and make our country great, it would be an incredible thing, but I don't know if they can do that. But I ran twice, I won twice, and did much better the second time.
Yeah, he went to Mexico in 2016, Marcy. September 1st, 2016. Yeah, I remember doing that. But this is a different... He's talking about going to Mexico a second time. That was with Nieto. Vicente Fox was out of office already.
Time than I did the first, getting millions and millions of more votes than in 2016, and likewise getting more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country by far.
The population keeps increasing.
And now we may...
They're standing for the big lie. Trump did not win the election in 2020. Just FYI.
We may have to do it again. We may have to do it again.
Just completely delusional.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so sad what's happened to our country. We're like a third world country in elections, and we're like a third world country on airports. Has anybody been flying around lately or trying?
Yeah.
We're like third world. But first, we have to win, and...
We're like third world because of airports?
Earth-shattering victory in 2022. We have...
You know what takes care of airports? Infrastructure bills.
To do it. Coming up in November. So to win in this November, this election needs to be a national referendum on the horrendous catastrophes the radical Democrats have inflicted on our country. The Republican Party needs to campaign on a clear pledge that if they are given power, they're going to fight with everything they have to shut down the border, stop the crime wave, beat inflation, and hold the Biden administration accountable. They have to hold it accountable. Job number one for the next Congress.
I'm so bored by him right now. Guess how many CVS's there are in the United States? Someone take a guess. Everybody can take a guess. Just random guess. Just how many CVS's do we think there are in the United States? Don't look it up yet. Anybody want to read the Costco flyer with me?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Job number one for the next Congress and the next president will be to restore public safety. People are walking outside and getting shot in the head because of the radical left's merciless crusade to dismantle law enforcement in America.
The people have always been shot in the head. This is part of America. Jessica says 500,000 CVS's. Close. Marcy says 12,000. At random says 2003. Oddly specific. I like it. Allison says 3K. A little higher than that. Ann says 500. And I think you're on the low end of things. 500 maybe just in the Los Angeles basin. Is that what you were? We're talking about the whole country. Tom says 12,578. Again, oddly specific. Tom may have looked it up. Tom, do you even know what a CVS is? It's a drugstore. It's a chain. What do you have over there? You've got London Drugs. You've got, what is Boots? Boots.
Our country is...
I don't know if they're in every state or not. But I just had to look up when the pharmacy closes at the CVS over here because I've got to pick up a prescription. Let's see. Boots, yeah, Boots drugstore.
Now
it's like Boots, but it's CVS.
Cesspool of crime, like it's never been before. They've never.
And says 2,500. London Drugs. I love London Drugs. They have London Drugs in Canada. I don't know if they still have London Drugs in Britain. Gallon of Stew would know.
Never seen anything like.
I think there's some Boots over here now. By the way, this is what we do. When Trump starts to get super boring, we just talk about random things. Somebody look it up. See how many CVS's there are now.
Other countries are talking about it. We're talking about democracy. Isn't it great? And then they say...
We're talking about democracy. Isn't it great?
You had 7 people killed in Chicago this weekend. You had 68 people shot. That's not democracy. That's not what we stand for.
It's got nothing to do with democracy. But if you're talking about getting rid of the Second Amendment, I'm with you, buddy.
Savage criminals are being released on cashless bail to continue their violent rampages against the United States.
Did you look it up, Jessica? Is it 9,763? You were very close with your guess of 200,000 then.
States of America. Entire communities are being torn to shreds with stabbings, shootings, stranglings, rapes, and murders.
Ah.
On that little piece we showed you, did you see the man with the knife in the back? Did anybody see that?
No.
I looked at it. I didn't notice it the first time, and I looked at it tonight. I'm getting ready to come on. A knife right in somebody's back.
Right.
The streets of our Democrat-run cities are drenched with the blood of innocent victims.
As are the Republican ones.
Gun battles rage between bloodthirsty street gangs. Bullets tear into crowds at random, killing wonderful...
Oh, my God. Are you okay at random? And what are you doing hanging around crowds? You've already had COVID once. You know better than this.
Little children that never even had a chance. They're struck and they're killed, and carjackers lay in wait like predators, hunting their prey. They want that car. They're going to take that car in California.
I looked up on the CVS website, and there's a map of the CVS's, and I guess we were all wrong. Apparently, there is one. There's one CVS right there. So I really thought it was more than that. I thought it was like a national thing, but who, oh well.
People are leaving the trunks of their cars open.
What did he say about you? The last thing you want to do is leave the trunk of your car open. He said you've been shot or something. Here.
Little children that never even had a chance. They're struck and they're killed, and carjackers lay in wait like predators.
Oh, wait.
Gun battles rage between bloodthirsty... The streets of our Democrat-run cities are drenched with the blood of innocent victims.
Yep.
Gun battles rage between bloodthirsty street gangs. Bullets tear into crowds at random, killing wonderful, beautiful little children that never even had a chance.
Oh, he's like your aunt. He thinks you're little children because you're so tiny at random, and you're wonderful and beautiful. Well, that's nice. So today, so far, to recap, he thanked me for my hard work, and then he said that at random was a wonderful little child. So it's very complimentary today.
They're struck and they're killed, and carjackers lay in wait like predators, hunting their prey. They want that car. They're going to take that car in California.
Is that what they do if they want a car?
People are leaving the trunks of their cars open so criminals don't smash the windows when they try to run.
He said this before, and I guess in San Francisco there have been people that are doing this. In Beverly Hills, I couldn't find any evidence of it. In fact, I drove around Beverly Hills, didn't see a single trunk open.
Their valuables.
But maybe they're just unlocked. But most trunks you have to prop open for it to be open. You want it to be visibly open. But yeah, a lot of people do. I've done that before in high crime neighborhoods. Just leave the car open. Go ahead, rifle through it, sleep in there if you want to.
Leave the trunk open so that they don't break the car and break the back of the car when they try and steal the tire and whatever in the trunk. So they just leave it open, take it.
They want the spare tire. Because there's a huge market for spare tires.
Please don't destroy my car. In Los Angeles, burglars are stalking people back to their homes.
Yep, that's happened since time began.
To clean out the entire house.
Oh, I could use a house cleaner. This place is filthy.
Gunpoint, they follow them. They live in Beverly.
Is that how people get home? Is that the path you take to get home?
Hills. They live in some nice community.
Actually, the streets in Beverly Hills are like that. So that is accurate.
They follow them back, and they go into the house, and they do things that you don't want to know about.
I kind of do.
This has to stop, and it has to stop now.
Now, I know, the American Carnage. Remember how you said you were going to stop it?
We are going to make America great again, but we have to make America safe again first.
Okay.
It's time for leaders who have the courage to say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done. It has to happen. It has to be happen. That's why when I see Tudor, when I see Kerry, when I see the people that are running, these people are not going to play games. They want to bring our country back. They're going to bring our country back. To repair the damage from Democrats, gutting of police forces nationwide, defund the police. How about that? Defund the police. Now they're saying, well, we really didn't say that. Oh, yeah, they did. And now they're saying it again. Never going to change. The next Congress should spearhead the largest increase in the hiring of police officers in American history, hiring tens of thousands more officers nationwide. Make our cities safe. We have to leave our police alone. Let them do their job. Give them back their respect. They know what to do. We have to allow them to do it.
Oh, so there, in At Random's neighborhood, which is a high crime, a huge car theft problem. I've had my car broken into there a couple of times. That people are leaving their trunks open. But this is like, people have been leaving their cars unlocked for decades. I would be more worried about, in Seattle, the water damage to the car, leaving your trunk open. Or leaving your cat outside with the water damage.
You know, when I came out here a little while ago...
There, this is it. This is his coming out speech. I told you guys, Trump's gay.
I have a consultant, and he's a very nice person. He's a rhino. And he said to me, sir, I don't think you should say that. Last statement.
What last statement?
To allow them to do it.
What?
They know what to do. We have to allow them to do it.
Oh, the cops. Now, how many Walgreens? Do you think there's more Walgreens or fewer Walgreens than CVS's? I'm going to go with more. I'm going to say 12,000 Walgreens.
You know, when I came out here a little while ago, I have a consultant, and he's a very nice person. He's a rhino. Mm-hmm. And he said to me, sir, I don't think you should say that. Last statement. I don't think you should say it. It's really not good. I don't think it'll be that popular. I said, what? You mean the fact that we should let police do their job? Sir, I think it's probably not going to be received well. I don't care. We have to let them do their job. He's a rhino, but he's a nice person. We'll probably keep him on the payroll, you know. We need to return to the tried and true strategy of a thing called stop and frisk. We have to take the guns away from people that are criminals.
That the Supreme Court said was racist. That's why we don't do stop and frisk anymore.
Instead of taking guns away from law-abiding Americans, let's take them away from the violent felons and career criminals for a change.
The I can't even say it.
The criminals. Instead of taking guns away from law-abiding Americans, let's take them away from the violent felons and career criminals for a change.
Criminals. Criminals was a like a caramel flavored breakfast cereal in Canada. It's delicious. Guys, you should all try some Criminals. Well, like a cinnamon caramel. Basically, if you took Cinnamon Roach Crunch and you like ground up the little pieces in there, then you get little Criminals. That's what it tastes like. But with caramel. It's delicious.
And we also need a no-holds-barred national campaign to dismantle organized crimes. These are street crimes. Organized crime today is on the streets.
What?
No-holds-barred national campaign to dismantle organized crimes. These are street crimes.
Organized crimes. Not organized. Organized crimes.
And we also need a no-holds-barred national campaign to dismantle organized crimes. These are street crimes. Organized crime today is on the streets, and this administration doesn't want to talk about that crime. They want to talk about what they think are other crimes, and many people say they're not crimes. We have to round up the drug dealers, the gang members.
Probably referring to his own election meddling.
And the dangerous offenders, charge them for their crimes, and get them either out of our country.
All right, so more CVS's than Walgreens. See, you learned something new today.
Back to where they came from, or put them behind bars. If you look at countries throughout the world, there's another thing. Please don't say it, sir. Please, sir. I've been doing this for 30 years, sir. Then I looked at his list of wins. It's not too good.
Why is he working for you? You hired him, idiot.
Please don't say it, sir. If you look at countries throughout the world, the only ones that don't have a drug problem are those that institute the death penalty for drug dealers. That's it.
That is absolutely false. How many McDonald's? 25,000. That's my guess. No. 41,000. 41,000 is my guess. Judges, higher or lower? That's not helpful. Sir would have been a very good drinking word.
When I was in China, and until the plague came in, I had a very good relationship with President Xi. We made a great trade deal for our manufacturers and farmers, but after the plague, I don't even talk about that deal.
When you were in China?
Too much damage done. But I had a great relationship with President Xi of China. Strong man. You could go all over Hollywood. You couldn't get an actor to play the role of President Xi. He's a great guy.
Well, no. There have been actors who play the role of President Xi. The same gentleman who plays the role of Winnie the Pooh, actually.
In many respects, but he's not too in love with our country.
What is that? Why would he come up with that? That you couldn't find an actor to play President Xi? Where does that come from? What sense does that make?
I can tell you that. But I said very innocently, do you have a drug problem? First time I met.
Because he was being so friendly to me.
And he looked at me like, what kind of a stupid question is that?
It's an excellent stupid question.
I said, President,
very,
do you have a
very
drug
stupid
problem
question.
in China? No, I don't have it. Why would we have a drug problem? I said,
No.
Well, what do you do? Oh, quick trial. Quick trial. I said, what's a quick trial? Quick trial is they bring drug dealers quickly to trial.
Okay.
And if they're guilty, it's immediate execution. Now, it sounds horrible.
Well, then apparently there's a drug problem.
Sounds horrible. Sounds horrible. But every drug dealer in this country, they say on average, will kill at least 500 people. Some people think it's much higher than that. So
It can't possibly be that high.
You would stop it. And I believe if you instituted...
Let's look it up. Somebody's done that before. How many people dead per drug dealer? Do 6 people die for every kilo of cocaine? That's the since 25 years. Staggering death toll of Mexico's drug war. Okay, well, let's try it this way. How many drug dealers are there? How many drug dealers are there in the USA? Okay, drug trafficking statistics. Okay, here we go. And this is from the American Addiction Centers, drugabuse.com. Let's see. The majority of traffickers were male and with the average age of 36. How many, though? How many? Okay, majority 15,000 hectares. Heroin use is up. 70% of all offenders are U.S. citizens. Almost half had little or no prior criminal history. That's interesting. Okay. I'm not seeing a stat there. There's got to be a link here to. Okay, so that's 3. There's got to be a study somewhere. There should be a footnote there, number 3, and sources. Here we go. Sources plus United States Sentencing Commission, drug trafficking offenses. Okay. Well, this is just the people that have been arrested, though. So this is going to tell us how many total. And this is 2016. 67,742 cases reported to the United States Sentencing Commission in fiscal year 2016. So let's just say that every drug dealer got arrested and there was a case against them in fiscal year 2016. So we take that and where's my calculator? That's down here. Right there. Wow, I got a lot of calculators open. Where are they? Here we go. So 67,742. Come back. There you go. Okay, times 500. Okay, so that is 34 million people dead by drug overdose. Might be a little on the high side.
The death penalty for drug dealers, traffickers. I believe that
children of the future
dealing would go down 50% on day one. 50%. I really believe that. I think it goes down the day you institute it. I'll tell you one thing.
Marcy sent a link that 77% of drug traffickers are U.S. citizens, not illegal aliens.
If I'm a drug dealer, I'm going to say, no thanks, I'm going someplace else. And so,
if I'm a drug dealer.
Singapore, you see what's going on in Singapore? Very rich society. Yeah. Very powerful on drugs. They have no drug problem whatsoever.
They do have a drug problem there.
Plenty of money to buy drugs. They have no drug problem.
There's drug problems everywhere.
The death penalty for drug dealers. Other countries likewise. We form blue ribbon committees where we put our great First Lady, Melania.
Right.
She's in charge.
He likes to make fun of blue ribbon committees and then puts together blue ribbon committees. Remember, in 2017, there was a blue ribbon committee on election fraud from 2016, and it just eventually disbanded because they couldn't find any election fraud.
We have a blue ribbon committee headed by the First Lady and very nice people, fine people, dilettantes, socialites. If they ever met a real killer drug dealer, they ever met El Chapo or any of these people, I think that would be the end of them. They'd say, I'm not doing this anymore.
Because
we have blue ribbon committees headed up by great people that really are well-meaning. And we were, and I will tell you.
So Melania must have talked to him after the last time that he made fun of blue ribbon committees because they do nothing.
First Lady did a good job. She worked hard. And we got drugs down 19%. That's great. But you know what that is? It's like nothing. And today it's worse than it's ever been because the border's so open that not only people are coming through, and bad ones, criminals, are emptying their jails into our country. But drugs are coming into our country at a level that we've never seen before. Fentanyl coming in from China.
Fentanyl.
You know, I was with Xi and I said, listen, you can't send fentanyl. You can't do it. He was...
Right, but they don't have a drug problem, remember? Remember how they have that quick trial and death? So there's no drug problem? Where's that drug? Where are they coming? Oh, it's from China?
They were really cutting down. They were really cutting down. Things were going really well. And then this tragedy happened in November, 2 years ago. Tragedy. It was a tragedy for our country what happened because of what's gone on. All they had to do was leave everything in place. This place was going so
Could have gone to the beach. He's talking about the election, by the way, being a tragedy.
And they couldn't help themselves. What a sad thing.
What?
But when I see these blue ribbon committees, it's just, and everyone wants to get on. Could I get on the blue?
It's just what? And could I get on the blue ribbon committee, sir? That's just, he's so pretty, isn't he? Let's print that screen. Boop. I have a way to capture the screen. What was it? Boop. Okay. Press Windows and G for the game board. Windows G. And, oh, this is interesting. What's this about? Capture. There we go. And take a picture. Boop. Screenshot saved. There's a way actually in Windows that you can do grabby things where you can actually there's a trick to it, and I forget what the shortcut is, but it's a thing. Okay, well, I'm glad we all explored that together.
Blue ribbon committee, says the local architect. Yeah, but they don't know what's happening here. No, you need the death penalty for drug dealers. Drugs will go down immediately by 50% and probably more. But you have to mean it, and you have to mean it. And when you look at China and other places, they don't have a problem. If they had that problem, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing right now.
What?
And they weren't. They had this problem many decades ago.
What are they doing right now? If China had a drug problem, which they do, they wouldn't be menacing Taiwan? Is that what he's saying?
And other countries, far smaller, were able to invade them and take them over because everybody was suffering from drugs. And they said, we can't do this. So it's not very politically correct to say it, but you'll save millions and millions of lives. Last year, we lost probably 250,000 people to drugs. 250. There's no war. If you were at war, these are numbers that are bigger than war numbers. 250,000. They say it's 100,000. I say it's much more than that. It's probably much more than 250,000, but you also have destroyed...
I mean, these stats are kept. When you die, a coroner has to determine the cause of death. So we know pretty accurately how many people have died of drug overdoses in this country.
Millions and millions of families throughout our nation because of drugs. In places where there is a true breakdown of the rule of law, such as the most dangerous neighborhoods in Chicago, the next president should use every power at his disposal to restore order. And if necessary, that includes sending in the National Guard or the troops.
Last year in 2021, it was 100,306 people died of drug overdose deaths. I think I won a blue ribbon for and a binder, a yellow McDonald's binder, for doing a drawing about McDonald's. Like McDonald's, we were in school for some reason. We did art. Something had to do with McDonald's, and then you would win a binder, and I won the binder. I'm not an artist.
Every American of every background deserves to live in safety and in peace. Every American.
I thought he was going to say fudge.
One of the things that we were saddled with, and one of the hardest decisions I had to make when I looked at some of these cities that were run by Democrats going so bad so fast, I wanted to send in the Guard, I wanted to send in the troops, and sometimes I did. In Minneapolis, I sent in the troops and saved the place.
He can't. That's illegal. The president cannot send in the troops. The National Guard has to be called in by the governors, not the president. He does not have that power. In fact, for him to do so would be a constitutional violation. Now, when it comes to D.C. and federal lands, he can.
I was getting ready to send...
But didn't. For 107 minutes, he just sat there. Didn't call in the National Guard.
I'm in Seattle when, if you look at, I guess it was Antifa, took over a big portion. You don't read about that too much. Nothing happened to those people.
It wasn't Antifa. He's talking about CHOP or Chaz in Seattle. It was 3 city blocks and a soccer pitch.
People are very little. I think nothing. But they took over a big portion of Seattle. The troops were ready to go in, and they heard that. All of a sudden,
it was not a big section at all.
They decided to leave. Thank you very much for leaving. But you know
yeah, I was there. It wasn't Antifa.
The president is not supposed to be doing that. The president is supposed to do it at the request of the governor. Well, when the governor was a Democrat.
Here's the thing about Antifa: they don't set up bases. They would never take over 3 city blocks and say like, hey, we're Antifa, here we are. You know, us guys who wear the black masks and you can't identify us, come on by.
Democrat or the mayors or Democrats, they don't want any help under any circumstances. Very much like on January 6th, where
That's complete nonsense.
Offered Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of D.C. from 10 to 20,000 troops.
Nope, we know that under sworn testimony. Sworn testimony. No order was given for troops. They made this up. 10,000, 20,000 troops, whatever the number you want to make up is, there was no order.
Because I thought the crowd was going to be very, very large coming in, because I felt it. You could see it.
And we know that because the same people who go on Hannity and say, yeah, oh, absolutely, it was 10,000, oh, it was 20,000, whatever. The same people, under oath, say, yeah, no, it didn't happen.
And they turned it down. And if they didn't turn it down, and Kash Patel is a witness, right? I think I can say you're a witness. But we have many other witnesses to that.
Right, and Kash Patel was on Hannity saying it didn't happen. And then the guy who was on Hannity with him said that it did, under oath.
To 20,000, they turned it down. And had they not turned it down, you wouldn't have had January 6th as we know it. But the president is not supposed to be sending in it at will. I think the next time, either we're going for a very quick change or we're sending them in, because we're not going to let Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, Portland is, they don't even, when the storefronts, they don't even use new storefronts. You know what they do? They just put up wooden barricades now for stores, for the few remaining. Places are burned out.
Yeah, it was the defense secretary, Chris Miller, under oath with the unselect committee, said that no, there were no 10,000 troops.
Hulk, and nothing happens to those people that have destroyed that place, that city. It's also time to take back our streets and public spaces from the homeless and the drug addicted.
Yeah, the C stands for conservative.
And the dangerously deranged. Drug addicted and the dangerously deranged. From the homeless and the drug addicted and the dangerously deranged. Because no civilized society can allow this depravity and squalor to continue. You can't let this happen. Places like San Francisco, the backyard of Nancy Pelosi. She, by the way, has a big wall around her house. You know that, right?
Right, so do I.
But it's so bad. It's got
Why?
So bad. People are leaving. Nobody wants to have office space there. Who would want to have an office space when you're walking through a lot of people that are unfortunate and in many cases very sick?
What? Who would want to see unfortunate people? Who would want that?
Mentally ill. It's actually dangerous to walk into your office. If liberals think that it's somehow to walk into your office. Mentally ill. It's actually dangerous to walk into your office. If liberals think that it's somehow compassionate, then you're going to have to let them invite the homeless to camp in their backyards, in their homes, and ruin their property and attack their families and use drugs where their children are trying to play. And all of a sudden that'll stop
That's the plan then?
very quickly. The only way you're going to remove the homeless encampments and reclaim our downtowns is to open up large parcels, large tracts of relatively inexpensive land on the outer skirts of the various cities and bring in medical...
I think it's just outskirts, not outer skirts.
Expensive land.
Can you say outer skirts? Is that a thing? Outer skirts. Nope. No, it's just outskirts.
On the outer skirts, those large tracts of relatively inexpensive land on the outer skirts of the various cities and bring in medical professionals, psychiatrists, psychologists, and drug rehab specialists and create
concentration camps. He wants concentration camps.
10 cities.
Right, Jessica.
They have tents right now. They're living in tents with holes in them. You don't have time to build buildings. You can do that later, but you have to get the people off the street. We have to reclaim our cities. And now you'll have people.
So arrest them and take them to the concentration camps and hold them there against their will.
That will be taken care of. We'll have doctors. We'll have everything. And we have to relocate the homeless until they can get their lives back and then come back to where they want to be. And we'll bring a lot of them back. They will come back.
And what happens to the ones that we don't bring back? That we keep detained against their will?
Right now, nobody's coming back. You have no medical help. You have no nothing. It's so dangerous, those streets. Los Angeles is so bad. San Francisco, every city that's run by Democrats, so bad. We want them to succeed. We want people to succeed. But they cannot be allowed to turn every sidewalk and public park into their personal campground. It's so dangerous. As everyone here in Texas knows firsthand, there is another horrific disaster we must confront if we want to restore safety in our country. At long last, we must stop the invasion at our southern border. It's an invasion. Our country is being invaded. Our country's being invaded just like a military force was pouring in.
Like Mengele. They're applauding that we're being invaded.
Just last month, an illegal alien here in Texas was indicted for the cold-blooded murders of 4 elderly women throughout the state, and he's been accused of links to the deaths of at least 24 people. 24 people. Perhaps the deadliest serial killer in Texas history. They're now saying he could be the deadliest serial killer. He's an illegal alien. Earlier this year, an illegal alien fugitive with a prior arrest.
Fugitive?
For aggravated assault and many other arrests, viciously shot and killed a Harris County police officer at a traffic stop.
Tragedy.
No reason whatsoever.
Why does this illegal alien have a gun?
And in New Mexico
why are there so many guns on the street that keep killing police officers? What about that?
Last year, an illegal alien criminal out of jail on unsecured bond was charged with decapitating a man, mutilating his body, and kicking his head around like a soccer ball all over the public park. Think of this.
What? And why haven't I heard about this?
Animals.
Animals.
Never forget every death at the hand.
He's gone all Christopher Walken on us. Strawberries.
Hands of a criminal, illegal alien.
Yes, no, I know what you said, Mengele.
Entirely preventable. This is all preventable stuff.
Animals.
We remember Kate, don't we? We remember Kate standing in
What's Kate's last name? Do we remember?
San Francisco with her father. We remember that.
Yeah.
A man who came in 5 times at least and shot beautiful Kate dead. Republicans in Congress must make clear that on their watch, not a single Republicans in Congress must make clear that beautiful Kate dead. 5 times at least, and shot beautiful Kate dead. Republicans in Congress must make clear that on their watch, not a single penny of taxpayer money will go to funding Joe Biden's open border agenda. It's a sick agenda. It's a sick agenda.
Well, then they should have won Congress.
Makes no sense.
None of what you're saying makes sense.
You know, I understand the other side. You always have to understand the other side.
Okay.
I understand the other side.
Yeah.
Open borders. Nobody has open borders. It makes
Nobody has open borders. The borders are not open. Remember, you finished your wall.
Sense. You know, we fight and spend billions and billions and even trillions of dollars defending the borders of countries that are 7,000 miles away. But they don't want to spend...
All countries, by the way, all countries to Trump are 7,000 miles away.
...any money to defend our border. Makes no sense, does it?
There is money for the border in the budget.
Next year, we have to use the purse strings to send a message to every would-be illegal alien all over the world. If you break into our country illegally, you will be caught. We will detain you, and we will quickly send you back to the place from which you came or put you in prison immediately.
Okay.
And
where are we going to build all these prisons?
did that.
Because remember, you just said we can't build homeless people houses fast enough, but we can have all these prisons all of a sudden for 2 million migrants?
We told people remember at the beginning we had these big caravans. We didn't have
Will they be in the outer skirts of town?
the caravans, and now they're starting at caravans. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. But the Obama
I mean, the caravans are like the caravans that have happened already, so
administration had
it's a lot of people have seen caravans. And what is it? Just some people walking.
big problem before us, because they would bring people into Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and Mexico, lesser extent, and they'd bring them back, and they wouldn't let us land the planes. They wouldn't let them have buses. They wouldn't let them come back into the country. So you'd have the worst gang members in the world, mostly MS-13. And if they came from Honduras, we couldn't get them back. And I had some incredible people in my office, Border Patrol people, guys like also Tom Holman and Mark Morgan. And so many others. These are great people. These are brave people. But they'd be in and they'd say to me, tell me, we can't bring them back, sir, because the country won't allow. I said, really, why won't they allow? They won't allow. They don't want MS-13 back in their country. They force them out. They put them into caravans. They force them out. And why wouldn't they? How smart. I mean, you don't have to be. They don't want
Hold on. I'm reading the article about the soccer kicking head guy. He had been arrested for murder previously as well. Nothing in here about him being an illegal alien. Nothing. They say he's a New Mexico man. He's Hispanic looking, but not an illegal alien, according to this article. Maybe it's Cairo 7, which is based out of Seattle. Now here we go. Here's the court documents. Yeah, and in the court document, he's known as Las Cruces man. Been in the country for several years because he's been charged with murder, and his wife had accused him of rape as well. Yeah, it doesn't. This is now the third article I'm looking at. It doesn't appear that he's an illegal alien. But okay.
I'm in their country. So what happens is I said, all right, good. How much money do we pay those three countries? Sir, we pay them $750 million a year. It's a lot of money, right? Peanuts compared to what we pay to some, but $750 million. I say, that's all right.
It is Mexico. You're right, Jessica. That's what it is. New Mexico. Trump believes it's just part of Mexico.
Put out a notice immediately that we're stopping payment. We're not going to pay anymore. And they said, sir, I don't think it'll work. We tried everything. That's why we kept him here, because we couldn't get him out. That's all right. You let him know we're not going to pay any more money to them. The following morning, I got calls from
What?
the three presidents. The following morning, I got calls from, I'm not going to pay any more money to them. The following morning, I got calls from the three presidents of the country. President, there seems to be a problem. Our funds have been cut off. Yeah, they've been cut off because you wouldn't
Everybody has the same accent in his world.
allow these people back that you probably pushed into our country because you
He is brown, Chris Wilson.
didn't want them because they were criminals and they were in jail in many cases. You got to
In
take
jail.
them back. Oh, President,
jail.
this was just a minor misunderstanding. We would love to have MS-13 come back into our country. And they took them back, and we couldn't get them out of here fast enough, I will tell you. It's true, Carrie. Carrie will do it. Carrie's going to stop them at the border. There's nobody coming in. Arizona, that'll be a safe place again. This guy Kelly, by the way, he's done nothing. He's done nothing. Blake Masters is going to do a fantastic job, Gary. Kelly's got nothing going. He never did a thing. Never did a thing. We'll also need a record increase in the number of new ICE officers and Border Patrol officers to resume the enforcement of our immigration laws and to deport the illegal aliens Joe Biden is refusing to deport. They won't even take out illegal aliens out of our country. In addition, we should pass much tougher penalties for repeat immigration violators, of which there are many. If you're a foreign national who repeatedly tramples upon the laws of our nation, you should be looking at spending a long time in jail. We can't do it anymore. We can't do it. We're like the poor, stupid people that take everybody, including criminals and some of the worst murderers in the world. As we secure the border, another key priority for the next Congress and the next president.
We're like the poor, stupid people? Is that what he said?
Stupid people that belong to the nation. You should be looking at spending a long time in jail. We can't do it anymore. We can't do it. We're like the poor, stupid people that take everybody, including criminals and some of the worst murderers in the world. As we secure the border, another key priority for the next Congress and the next president will be to drain the swamp once and for all.
You really, really failed at that in your first term. So much, though, that you believe that there was a grand conspiracy to flip the entire election. Millions upon millions and millions of people were in on it.
To remove rogue bureaucrats and root out the deep state, Congress should pass groundbreaking reforms, empowering the president to ensure that any federal employee who is corrupt, incompetent, or unnecessary for the job can be told, "You're fired." You ever hear that? You're fired. Yeah, fired. Our current appeals process to remove these bureaucrats, people that can really be bad, they can even be thieves. You can catch them stealing large sums of money. You have to go through a 3-stage appeals process, which takes on average 5 years per stage. 15 years, you'll be gone. You'll be out of office by that time. In other words, to fire someone who is doing a bad job if the government wins will take more than a decade under the current system. Almost all politicians won't start that process because they'll be gone and they know it. You know, a lot of politicians, they go to Washington, they're all set, and then they get caught up with people that say, "Hey, I'll be here a hell of a lot longer than you will." And the politician just goes about having nice dinners.
According to the GAO, the Government Accountability Office, it takes 6 months to a year to dismiss a federal employee.
We can't do it anymore. We got to run this country properly.
So 1/15 of what he said.
Because it's time to clean house in Washington, D.C. And we did a lot of it, but nobody knew the deep state was that deep. We did a lot of it. As we take power out of Washington, we also need to take power back from the left-wing lunatics who are indoctrinating our...
As we take power out of Washington? What is he trying to say?
We did a lot of it. As we take power out of Washington, we also need to take power...
What does that mean?
As we take power in Washington, D.C. And we did a lot of it, but nobody knew the deep state was that deep. We did a lot of it. As we take power out of Washington, we also need to take power back from the left-wing lunatics who are indoctrinating our youth. We have to finally and completely smash the radical left's corrupt education establishment. The current system is sick. It's sick. We have the lowest scores almost in the world, and we spend more per pupil than any other nation.
That may be
School prayer
true.
is banned, but drag shows are allowed to permeate the whole place. It's okay.
The whole place.
You can't teach the Bible, but you can teach children that America is evil.
Yeah, that's the separation clause.
And that men are able to get pregnant. Whatever it takes, conservatives must liberate America's children from the captivity of these Marxist teachers' unions. That's what they are. Where do they come from?
That's going to go over really well in the next election for him. Marxist teachers' unions. What happened to supporting your teachers?
We need to defend parents' rights. Think of this.
What about teachers who are parents? What about them?
I gave a talk
a
few days ago, and I was talking about defending parents' rights, and I just said, you know...
He gave a talk, like a TED Talk?
Parents' rights. I said, can you imagine we're even talking... We are going to defend parents' rights. Did you ever think 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that we would be fighting for parents' rights? What's more basic than parents' rights, especially parents' rights over their children? We're trying to defend parents.
Well, that would be what parents' rights are. See, without the kids, they're not parents, sir.
Rights, it's so crazy. Across the country, we need to implement strict...
He's like a stupid Yogi Berra.
...prohibitions on teaching inappropriate racial, sexual, and political material to America's school children in any form whatsoever. And if federal bureaucrats are going to push this radicalism, we should abolish the Department of Education.
There it is. Wow. Get rid of the public schools. Abolish. Not reform. Abolish. Wow.
Of Education. Push this radicalism, we should abolish the Department of Education.
The sad part is there's kids in that crowd clapping.
And we will keep men out of women's sports.
All right. Please don't tell the story.
That's another one.
Yeah.
And by the way,
he loves to tell these stories. They're so dumb.
We have a great person here. Where's our beautiful, great swimmer? Gaines, where's Gaines? Come up here. Will you please come up?
Oh.
Come up.
She's there.
This is a great champion.
Wow.
And she was beating everybody, and then one day she looked over and said, that's the largest human being I've ever seen.
She never said that.
Come here. Come on up. She's been so brave, you know, because a lot of people say you can't talk about it. They told me, please don't mention that, sir. It's not politically correct. And
nobody told him not to mention it.
I did. About 3 weeks ago, the place went crazy. It was the largest applause I've ever heard. Come on up here. Look at this. Look at this.
Notice he did not adjust the microphone for her. Maybe he did. We didn't see it, but it looks like it's in the same position it was for him.
Basically, all I want to say is that it takes a brain and common sense and 5th grade biology level understanding to realize that this is blatantly unfair. It's completely obvious, and so I spoke earlier today and I said a lot, so I'll keep it short, and I'm just going to say, keep female sports female.
Just to show you how ridiculous it is.
Adjust it for himself.
Look at me. I'm much bigger and much stronger than her. There's no way she could be.
I don't know that he's stronger than she is. She's at like the highest level of athlete. Swimmers are insanely powerful. But yeah, I'd like to see a wrestling match right now. He would.
Beat me in swimming. Do we all agree?
Thank you. Thank you.
You would float better.
Now, I'd have a little trouble. It wouldn't be pretty. I wouldn't invite too many friends to that one, but how ridiculous is it, really?
Well, he was just telling us how great his body was and that the doctor loved him the best.
How ridiculous is it? The weightlifters, they're lifting numbers. They're breaking the records by hundreds of pounds. It's
The
ridiculous.
weightlifters are lifting numbers. It's not hundreds of pounds, by the way.
And no teacher should ever be allowed to teach.
Hundreds of pounds. They're breaking records by hundreds of pounds.
Teach transgender to our children without parental consent.
To teach transgender.
At the same time, we need to get critical race theory and left-wing gender ideology out of our military. I had it out. The world is too dangerous for America's armed forces to be politically correct. You look at what's happening with China and Russia, but you look at those rockets going up one after another, and we don't want to be politically correct with our military. We got to
Would it be better if they were going up simultaneously?
be tough. Can you imagine George Patton? You know, he had a very strong temper. He was a very violent man, actually, great general, violent guy. And he'd walk in and he'd be screaming at people. They'd throw him out of the military today because he wasn't nice. Now we have to get back to running things. You know, I had it totally out of the military. I had it out of government through executive order, and you couldn't get the Democrats to go along with it, but it didn't matter. I had it totally out. One of the first things they signed back in was that nonsense, and we can't let that happen. We have to take back over. We have to take over government. We have to run it like it's supposed to be run. We must also win the battle to...
She gave a talk earlier today, so we could actually go back and watch that too, but we won't. You can watch it.
To restore free speech in America. Republican...
I see her point of view, though. It really sucks to have to race against biological males. Your whole life you've had a dream of, I don't know, winning the NCAA crown or whatever it is, and then suddenly you're swimming against guys, and guys are just better at everything, and smarter. Softer. More pokey.
Across government have to be ruthless in going after the new...
No, but of course I am kidding. They're not softer. I do feel for her, though. That would absolutely suck to be in that situation. That would be... It's like if I go out to play hockey and it turns out they've got some... Like the other team has some guy from the NHL. Like, what...
Censorship regime. It's censorship. It's worse than it's ever been. I've never seen anything. It used to be even 10 years ago, because I was always very active with different
Dogmother, see, every sport makes its own rules. And in several sports, they don't even have to be going through the therapy. They just have to declare their gender. And then they can race in whatever they want to race. Swimming just... did swimming change it? And the NCAA, rather than make a blanket policy, basically said each sports governing body is going to make that decision. So every sport has their own rules. It's a mess right now. Does it really affect the country as a whole? Not really. But boy, oh boy, you would think that this is the biggest problem we have.
Things. And I'd fight the media. I'd say something dead fair. You go...
Just make all the sports co-ed. Problem solved, right?
Back and forth, and you win, you lose. You like to win, but you win, you lose. Today, they don't even talk about it. If you have anything to do with the election,
it's not happening this often.
They don't want to talk about it. If you have anything to do with certain things, they won't even talk about it. They don't want to debate it. January 6th never brings up the election, which is the reason all of those people were there. They don't want to talk about it.
They spent hours upon hours talking about the election and how everyone surrounding you told you that you had lost and that there was no fraud.
They don't want to look at the corruption that took place in Arizona and all of the states. You saw in Wisconsin. I was in Wisconsin, and it was an incredible group of people. But the nursing homes, traditionally, very few people vote in nursing homes.
That's not true at all. Nursing homes have very high voter participation. I mean, it's something to do.
But in 2020, they had almost 100% of the people voting.
Nope.
And you know how they found out? Because the children of elderly people in the nursing homes were so angry. My fault.
Mega supporters, by the way. In one nursing facility, in Nazarene, I think it's called Nazarene, in one facility where there are 12 people living, all 12 of them voted, which is not out of the ordinary at all. And when the newspapers went and looked at the other nursing facilities, it was anywhere from like 20% to 81% voting. But one facility with only 12 people, all of them voted. And so this has become a thing now in the Republican side of things that, oh, there's 100% participation. It's impossible. And in some cases, I've heard them say more than 100%.
Father did not vote. He's comatose. He's been sick. He's ready to die. He'll be dead very
Comatose? Like his toes are shaped like...
soon. He didn't vote. Father did not vote. He's comatose. He's been sick. He's ready to die. He'll be dead very soon. He didn't vote. Daughters, sons.
I don't know. I don't know that anyone approached him and said, "Sir, my father's going to die very soon. He's very sick. He's going to die." People don't usually say that about their parents. Maybe at the end.
They were very angry about it. That's how it started. They have Justice Gableman. He came out with a scathing report about how crooked the election was. We should expose exactly what they're doing, what they're hiding, who they're silencing, and who is funding it all. And
by the way, if you're just joining us now, Trump is talking about a rigged, stolen election. It never happened. Biden won the election, and that's all there is to it. He's just the world's worst loser.
who is coordinating it?
Trump is.
Go out, sign up now, by the way, for Truth Social. It's really great. It's giving us a voice. It's giving us our voice back. The list of urgent tasks for the next Congress and the next president is endless, and we do not have to wait. We have to move quickly. We don't have time to wait. Our country is
We do not have to wait?
being shot. It's being destroyed.
What?
We don't have time to wait. Our country is being shot. It's being destroyed. We don't have time to wait. Our country is being shot. It's being destroyed.
I got to go back.
We don't have time to. We do not have to wait. We have to move quickly. We don't have time to wait. Our country is being shot. It's being destroyed. It's something we have to do for the future. The future of our country is at stake.
First at random was being shot. Now the country is being shot.
We don't have time to wait years and years. We won't have a country left. What I used to say about Venezuela is true. We have to save the economy.
Thank you, Gallon. I appreciate it.
Defeat the Biden, Pelosi, Schumer tax hike, which is happening right now tonight. Maybe it's already approved. And I do
Has it been? I didn't see.
believe that Manchin and Sinema will pay a big price for it. But think of it. This is the only group. They want to do the biggest tax hike in history for Green New Deal stuff. And they're just destroying us when everyone's doing so poorly, on top of the gasoline, on top of the bacon, which is quadrupled. And stop the out-of-control inflation that is crushing
Is bacon up 400%?
American workers and families. It's crushing. Never seen anything like it. To bring down energy prices, we have to abolish the Green New Deal. It's a fake. It's a fake. It's a fake. And, you know, we had the cleanest air and the cleanest water in decades in my administration. And
In 2021, Bacon was up 13%. In 2022, inflation on bacon fell to only 8.79%. So that is not quadruple, just so you know.
And yet we were producing more energy, more oil, more everything than we've ever done before. Instead of begging for oil from Iran and Venezuela and other distant foreign nations, we should be pumping
They're all 7,000 miles away.
it from Pennsylvania, North Dakota, Louisiana, and if you don't mind, Texas. If you don't mind. We should once again require able-bodied single adults to go back to work or train for a job in order to receive welfare.
By the way, in 2017, Trump's first year in office, bacon was up 7%.
And taxpayer-funded benefits.
It was 97 when I left the house to come out to the studio. And I did it for you people.
We need the workers. We have to eliminate all remaining COVID mandates and lockdowns. And we
What
have
lockdowns
to
are
rehire
we in?
every patriot who is fired from the military with an apology, and we have to give them their back pay.
Oh,
We have to
drinking
restore
word.
America first. We have to go back to the America first foreign policy. We have to be America first. Right now, we are truly America last. We are America last.
Are we? Truly?
Focus squarely on our national interests, and we have to keep the United States out of these ridiculous, endless foreign wars
What?
where they don't even want us.
Foreign wars?
To keep the United States out of these ridiculous, endless foreign wars where they don't even want us. To build on my historically successful trade
He's having trouble with his words today.
policies, we need to increase the president's tariff power, and we need to make my China tariffs permanent. We took in billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. No president has taken in 10 cents, not 10 cents. China doesn't like me too much. We need to hold on to our dignity and need to hold China accountable for the unleashing of the virus.
Need to hold on to our dignity. What? What is that about?
We need to hold on to our dignity and need to hold China accountable for the unleashing of the virus upon the world.
Again, no idea what he's saying there, but again, this was him. Go ahead and read that if you want. I'm trying to find you guys the picture of how hot it was here. I'll get there.
$50 trillion of damage to the world. Not us, to the world. And we need to rapidly
And us.
reduce our dependence on China and other foreign nations by bringing our supply chains, factories, and critical industries back home where they belong, like it used to be.
Right, that's what Biden's doing. In fact, there's money in the new bill that you hate so much that will increase production here, manufacturing in the United States. Factory planning under Biden last year increased 1,000%.
Back to the future, you know, back to the future.
What?
To be a strong nation, America must be a manufacturing nation, and we were doing that. We were doing that. Now they're sending it all back to other nations to make for us and to make a tremendous amount of money. We have to protect our totally under siege Second Amendment. It is under siege.
Yeah, it's under siege. Yeah, I know. Poor guns.
Nation, and we were doing that. We were doing that. Now they're sending it all back to other nations to make for us and to make a tremendous amount of money. We have to protect our
No, they're not.
totally under siege Second Amendment. It is under siege. And restore the ancient and sacred right to self-defense. I'm sorry.
You should be sorry. Here's how hot it was. This is candle. That's a candle. This candle is supposed to be nice and tall and straight. This is the top of the candle. It was like this. Looked like the mushrooms in the Fantasia, where they're all dancing around and they keep bowing their heads. That's what the top of the candle looked like. So yeah, it was hot. Maybe too hot.
One thing you know, they take away your guns. They're not taking away the guns of the bad guy, are they? They're not going to take away the guns of the
Nobody's taking away your guns.
bad guy. None of them are giving up their guns. We have to defend our cherished Constitution and uphold our heritage as a society built and sustained by Judeo-Christian values. And we have to restore one standard of justice in America. One standard of justice. So unfair what's going on. The weapon.
Yeah, some people are never held accountable for their crimes.
Weaponization of law enforcement for political purposes must end. It must end immediately. There is massive.
So one set of justice, one set of rules, equal justice for all, unless it's a political, and then we stop that. Remember, his lawyers tried to get the Supreme Court to say that a president can't be investigated.
Prosecutorial misconduct going on right now all over our country, the likes of which has never been seen before. They've never seen anything like what's going on right now. Look at all the people who are in prison or whose lives have been destroyed on January 6th, destroyed. A protest over a rigged and stolen election that nobody wants to look at, while others are allowed to burn down cities and violently and viciously kill people and nothing happens to them. How about that? Prior to
Well, there's been 10,000 arrests.
January 6th, I recommend it strongly. We mentioned it briefly before, but I have to say
What?
I recommend it strongly. We mentioned it briefly before, but I have to say it again, that the National Guard or troops be brought in, but it was turned down by the D.C. mayor and Nancy Pelosi. We would have
It was not.
never had a problem from 10,000 to 20,000 troops. Is that a correct statement, Cash and Rick and everybody? They were all there. Thank you.
What about Chris Miller? Was Chris Miller there?
They were all there. Nobody wants to talk about it. They never bring it up. It's not that they don't. You know what else they don't want to talk about? How about that phony story? I'm sitting in the back of the beast. I wasn't sure if I should be honored because I felt very strong. And I had these two big, strong Secret Service guys, and one guy could lift 350 pounds, no problem. And I said, take me to the Capitol. Oh, sir, can't do it.
Oh, so that's true.
So I grabbed the steering wheel to commandeer the car. And he rebuffed me, she said. He rebuffed.
I don't remember her using the word rebuff, but sure.
Interesting word. He rebuffed me, yeah, like this. He rebuffed me. So my hands fell around another powerful guy, strong as hell. I know these people. These are very strong people. It's just not my deal. And I started to choke him. I felt, you know, when the story came out.
Not what she said.
Some
She said clavicle.
people said, I never knew you were that strong physically. And then they said I started throwing food all over the White House. No. I have too much respect for the White House. But that's
I thought he was going to say I have too much respect for food.
somebody could sort of believe, you know, that you could. But to think that I'm going to be jumping into the seat, grabbing a wheel, being rebuffed, grabbing this big, powerful guy, his neck is like this, and grabbing, I'm going to take him. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Well, we have to put. And guess what?
What?
The Secret Service put out an announcement, which they never do, put out an announcement that it never happened.
Nope, they did not. They did not, and they have been invited back to testify under oath. Because as we learned, a lot of people will say things differently under oath than just out in the general public.
Which everyone knew anyway. But they won't interview anybody. from the Secret Service because they don't want to hear them.
No, they have interviewed people from the Secret Service. They are ongoing with interviews of the Secret Service.
That. And I still see the Times writing about it like it's something that happened. They don't want that. They haven't called anybody from the Secret Service to put them on the stand.
No, they've been under oath.
It's a disgrace what's going on. It's a one-sided witch hunt that continues and continues. As another example, the sting that they did involving Gretchen Whitmer was fake, just like those who instigated January.
That was your FBI, sir. That was your Department of Justice, sir.
6. It was a fake deal. Fake.
Again, that was your FBI.
It was a fake deal. Gretchen Whitmer was in less danger than the people sitting in this room right now, it seems to me.
That is actually completely wrong.
And you look to see what happened, and trials are going on all over the place, and I guess a lot of people, Tudor, are being exonerated, aren't they? Huh? They're being exonerated.
Huh?
Finally, everywhere we have the chance, we must pass critical election integrity reforms, including universal voter ID. They don't want a voter ID. They don't want...
No, in the Democrats' voting bill, ID is fine. But, like in many states, it's already in existence now. Some of them Republican states, if you don't have your ID, or if it's expired, like I just looked at mine the other day. Oh, this is now, I gotta get a new ID. It happens. So if you show up with an expired ID, or you've forgotten your ID, or you need to vote, it's your right, again, your constitutional right to be able to vote. So in most states, I haven't added up all the states. I don't know if it's 26 states. You can fill out an affidavit saying, this is me, this is my information, I don't have my ID with me right now, but here's my sworn affidavit, punishable by 4 or 5 years in prison if I'm lying about this. And that vote is not counted until the affidavit can be ascertained. The affidavit. And that's what's in the bill. The bill does not say that you cannot have voter ID in your state.
Want voter ID under no circumstances.
No, that's completely wrong. That is 100% stupid.
We don't want voter ID. There's only one reason they don't want voter ID, because they want to cheat. They don't want citizenship confirmation. We don't care if you're a citizen. We want everybody to come in.
Yeah, Marcy can use a piece of mail as ID in Hawaii. Every state has their own set of rules. States are allowed, in the Voting Rights Act, states are allowed, I should say, what was it, HB 1? They are allowed to set up their own rules. So if Hawaii says a piece of mail is enough, then a piece of mail is enough. But if Hawaii said you have to have your driver's license or a photo ID, some sort of governmental photo ID, okay, that's fine. But if they don't have that, they still should be allowed to vote because the Constitution says so.
Think of it, those two things. No more fake drop boxes. You see the drop boxes. In one case, 100% of the vote went to Joe Biden, 100%.
No, that's not true.
And you saw 2,000 mules? I hope everybody saw it. I looked at this movie, then I saw somebody being interviewed by Fox, unfortunately. Somebody named Sandra Smith.
I saw Bill Barr, your Attorney General, reviewing 2,000 Mules. He had a good laugh. It is a ridiculous piece of film.
And they talked about this whole scam. Don't forget, the cameras have them, and these are government cameras. Some of them were discarded by people.
They're not government cameras in many cases.
Illegally, but these are government cameras. The government... And they talked about it. Well, they saw it. They saw the stuffing. They saw everything. Looking up for the cameras, the way they came in. They have it perfectly on tape. And she looks...
Yeah, people look at security cameras. Every time I notice a security camera, I look up at it. And I'm like, what's that? You know, it's fine. People take pictures of themselves voting. I take pictures of my vote.
She goes, oh, that was debunked. It wasn't debunked. How did they debunk it, Mike? They didn't debunk it. There was no debunking.
It's been debunked. The entirety of the movie is evidence for people who don't understand what evidence is.
It was debunked. What's debunked? They have it on camera.
Right, but we don't know that any of that activity that is on camera in the movie, we don't know that a single vote is being cast illegally. Not one.
Well, the woman in Georgia that took the massive number of ballots from under the dress of the table, right?
Dress of the
And
table.
now-
It's an apron, sometimes known as the outer skirts.
Now, government's apologizing to her.
Ah.
Oh, how could she have been so... Government, the dress of the table, right? Well, the woman in Georgia that took the massive number of ballots from under the dress of the table, right? And now, government's apologizing to her. Oh, how could she have been so horribly treated? It's very interesting. That one's a very
It's not the government that has to apologize. It's your supporters.
interesting one because, remember they said there was a water main break. A water main break, everybody out. They don't talk about the real facts. Everybody out. Got to get out. They all run out. Then
Because that didn't affect the voting.
a short time later,
I'm sorry, that didn't affect the count. Two separate incidents.
a small group comes back in. They go right for the table. They don't go back to the machine where they were, which would be more normal. They go right for the table. The dress. They lift that dress up. They grab that.
Again, is it a dress? Can you call a table apron a dress? It's a skirt. You can call it a skirt. I've never heard it called a dress.
Group of ballots, thousands of them, putting them in again and again. And then they said nothing happened.
All nonsense. This has been... It's obvious. If you watch the video, that the votes were stored in the ballot boxes underneath the table because it was a convenient place to keep them. That's standard procedure.
And Bill Barr didn't want to be again that more normal. They go right for the table, the dress. They don't go back to the machine where they were, which would be more normal. They go right for the table, the dress. They lift that dress up. They grab that group of ballots, thousands of them, putting them in again and again. And then they said nothing happened. Bill Barr didn't want to be impeached. He didn't want to be impeached. How do you not get impeached? Nothing happened. I thought the election was fine.
Your guy.
Rather respected Bill McSwain, you know, the respected U.S. attorney from Pennsylvania, McSwain, called me, wanted my endorsement because he was running for governor. I said, I wouldn't endorse you for dog catcher because you didn't. And I didn't like saying this.
Wait, what?
Because you didn't do what you endorse you for dog catcher because you didn't. And I didn't like saying this. Because you didn't do what you should have done, which is go into the election for it. Sir, I wasn't allowed to. Why? Bill Barr wouldn't let me. I said, put it in writing. He did. He wrote me a letter. I put the letter up, but they don't want to print the letter.
Who doesn't want to print the letter? Who is they?
Strong letter that Bill Barr would not let him look into corruption fraud. In Philadelphia, one of the most dishonest election places in the country.
Election
in Detroit,
places. Yeah.
the single most dishonest, they found nothing wrong.
Right.
It's a shame, but we want no private
So they investigated it, and it was okay. Yeah.
money pouring into local election offices anymore. Think of this Zuckerberg. He put in $417 million, Matt. $417 million. And Matt knows because he was involved in Nevada. Matt wasn't really, he was sort of on the edge. He could have gone either way. And then he got involved in looking at Nevada. He said, this is the most corrupt thing I've ever seen. But we had a Democrat judge. He refused to even look at the case. The case was ironclad. He looked. This case is over. It's a shame what's happening to our country. A shame. Our goal should be same-day voting with only paper ballots. That should be our goal.
All of the ballots in dispute in the states where Trump claims to have won, where he didn't, are paper ballots.
Only paper. You know, France just had... France, which is a pretty big country, just had 55 million people vote, all paper ballots, all same-day voting. By 10 o'clock in the evening, the election was over. And the person that lost didn't go around complaining. It's on to the next one. I'd much rather do that. I'd much rather do that. But that would be the worst thing that could happen to our country. Because we have to have honest elections, or we have to have borders, or we don't have a country. And if we do all this, if we stop the crime, secure the border, save the economy, defend our culture, and take back our democracy, then America First conservatives will be rewarded with a governing majority that will transform American politics forever. We're at such an important point. The radical left will be banished into political oblivion. We will save our freedom, we will save our children, and we will save our country. But the task will not be easy. Together we are standing up against some of the most menacing forces, entrenched interests, and vicious opponents our people and our country has ever seen. A friend of mine recently said that I was the most persecuted person in the history of our country.
So Martin Luther King Jr. was not thought of? Okay.
And then I thought about
the slaves, the millions of slaves that not persecute. Okay.
About it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have time to think much because I'm always being persecuted.
No.
And I felt, you know, I was being persecuted. I thought about it because I didn't have time to think much because I'm always being persecuted. Because I didn't have time. And then I thought about it because I didn't have time to think much because I'm always being persecuted. And I felt, you know, he may very well be right. What a terrible thing. We had, think of it, a Russia scam that was covered religiously by the fake news media, even though they knew it was a fake. They knew it was fake. They knew earlier than anybody. It turned out to be a concocted fairy tale made up by crooked Hillary Clinton.
No, he's almost right on France, Joanna. It's 48.7 million registered voters in France.
The Democrats, a sleazeball writer named Christopher Steele, and a coordinated effort. This could only happen.
Probably 22 million voted, but they have almost 50 million people registered.
To me, with of all places, you know who coordinated? Russia. They were the ones that were involved with the Russia hoax on me. Then I had impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2. The Mueller investigation resulting in a verdict after 2 years of no collusion with Russia.
Nope.
You know,
Mueller did not investigate collusion.
During the
collusion, not a crime.
Very early part when I came down the escalator with our great First Lady, who, by the way, is very popular. They love our First Lady. Great style and great heart. But when I came down the escalator, it started early on. Young people would come up. You might have heard this story. I've told it a couple of times, not much. But young campaign workers, sir, it's such an honor to meet you, sir. Oh, someday I want to be president. Sir, can I ask you one question? Yes. Do you have anything to do with Russia? I'd say, that's a strange question from this kid. Then a month later, somebody else would
I haven't heard this story before, but I've missed a few of his rallies lately.
come up, sir, it's an honor to meet you. Sir, do you have anything at all or any knowledge of anything that happened with you in Russia? No. And I was so innocent. You know, it was so crazy that I didn't even...
He was trying to build a building in Moscow during the election. There was a business plan. There was a memorandum of understanding.
even take it seriously. But after... Signed by him. About the 5th time this happened, sir, do you have anything to do with... I said, what the hell is going on with Russia? And they made up a phony story. It was a concocted story. And it really started as a way to shift blame for the fact that Hillary Clinton and the Democrats lost the election. But then it got carried away, and the press...
No, this was happening before the vote.
...loved it, and it kept going and going. But I tell this story with a very heavy heart, because I have a son who's a very good guy, Don. Very, very good guy. He's a good person. Sometimes he comes across a little rough, but you know what? He's just a good person. And think of this. Adam Shifty Schiff and these people, they made up this hoax. They knew it was a hoax. And I saw him at the microphones one day saying, Donald Trump Jr., the son of the President of the United States, will soon be going to jail for what he did with Russia. Think of this. He's saying that my son, my beautiful son, my child, is going to go to jail.
I don't remember Schiff ever saying that that Donald Jr. was going to jail.
And he knew it was a hoax. Wants to put my son, destroy my son, and he knew it was a hoax. And it continues to this day. These are evil people. These are sick people. Think of that. Right? Kimberly? Right? Who has been through anything like this?
No evidence of that on Google. The closest thing I found is that Schiff said that Trump faces real prospect of jail time. Not Junior. Trump.
This. Certainly no politician and definitely no president. All of this while I was...
I mean, we've shot a few presidents, sir, so...
doing so much as president, including creating...
I think Abraham Lincoln might feel a little more persecuted.
...the most secure border in American history, record tax and regulation cuts, $1.87 gasoline, no inflation, low interest rates, record growth in real wages, record growth in our economy, beating China and Russia and everybody else, rebuilding our entire military, rebuilt our entire military. You know, our military was falling to pieces. We have jet fighters that were 44 years old. You've heard the story where the grandfather flew them, then the father, then the son. The historic Abraham Accords bringing peace to the Middle East. Jerusalem and Israel, much, much more. And now we have the January 6th Unselect Committee of Political Hacks and Thugs, like Schiff. Think of that, though. Think about that. How would you like to be a father and watch this guy? Not a stupid man. He's a psycho, but he's not as stupid. And he does have an oddly shaped head. It's shaped like a watermelon. Right? No, he's a psycho. And he acts like so sanctimonious. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to report Donald Jr. will be in jail for what he's done. And he knew it was a hoax. What they do to destroy lives, and they're destroying the lives of many other people right now with that same thing and that same sickness and thinking. But it's the very same people who perpetrated the lies that I was an agent of Russia. Me, I'm an agent.
Yeah. Gas was $1.87 in May of 2020. It was well above $2 when he left office. But he didn't say. He said we got it down to that. But that was May 2020 when it was his decision to lock us all down.
I'm the worst thing that ever happened to Putin. Look what he's doing now. He's knocking the hell out of everyone because he has no respect.
To Pud?
Eyes that I was an agent of Russia. Me, I'm an agent. I'm the worst thing that ever happened to Putin. Look what he's doing now. He's knocking the hell out of everyone because he has no respect. That would have never happened with me. Would have never happened.
Killing civilians, bombing hospitals, slaughtering school children, knocking the hell out of everyone.
It was an amazing thing. I had to listen to this. You know, with Russia, I put the biggest charges on every one of their people. But what did I do? I stopped Nord Stream 2. Nobody ever even heard the term Nord Stream. I found out, but I stopped them. And I stopped them. Why did I stop them? Because I thought it was a terrible thing for our country. It was a terrible thing for Europe. I told that to Germany. They all smiled. Very famous now. Germany was smiling when I was at the United Nations saying this is a terrible thing. All you have to do is look at the last 200 years. It's going to happen again. We could end up in World War III because we are being governed by incompetent people. Could happen. And this war will be worse than any war ever because we have weapons the likes of which nobody has ever seen before. But you say, where?
No, we've seen them.
Where does it stop? Where does it end? It probably doesn't stop. Because despite great outside dangers, our biggest threat remains the sick, sinister, and evil people from within our own country.
So domestic terrorists, yeah. Every time that's brought up, you guys disagree with that, though.
Never forget, everything this corrupt establishment is doing to me is all about preserving their power and control over the American people. They want to damage me in any form so that I can no longer represent the hardworking citizens of our country, so that I will no longer get a 99% approval rating from CPAC. I heard Matt protested. He said it can't be 8. It came out at 98. This is a story. I don't know if it's true, but Matt will tell you someday. He protested. He said, that's ridiculous. It can't be. So they went back and they checked all the facts. And it went from 98 to 99. Is that a true story? And that was McLaughlin. You know, that's a great, legit firm. That was McLaughlin. He said, can't be, that's too hard. It doesn't look right. We'll check it again.
John McLaughlin is universally recognized as the worst pollster.
99. But they don't like that. The other side doesn't like that much, man. And the fake news media is totally complicit in all of these things that are happening. If I renounced my beliefs, if I agreed to stay silent, if I stayed home, or if I stayed in my basement, the persecution of Donald Trump would stop immediately. That's what they want me to do, but I can't do
That is not how law and order works.
that. And I will not do that because I love our country and I love the people of our country so much.
And because there'd be absolutely no reason for you to do it.
Thank you. I'm not doing this for me because I had a very good and luxurious life. You know that, Kerry. I had a very luxurious life. What the hell did I do? I got a racist attorney general in New York that's been after me for years. She campaigned on the fact, I will get Donald Trump. She doesn't know anything about me. I will get him. Terrible people. These are terrible people. I built a great company. Now they're finding out this was a great company. Great company. Actually better than they thought. Much better. But I do it for you, and it's my honor to do it. It's my great honor to do it. Because if I don't, our nation is doomed to become another Venezuela or become another Soviet Union, which is where we're headed, or become a very large-scale version of Cuba.
We're headed to become another Soviet Union?
Where all is lost and there is no hope. But no matter how big or powerful the corrupt radicals we are fighting against may be, no matter how menacing they appear, we must never forget that this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you.
No, this nation belongs to everyone. We, the people.
This is your home. This is your heritage. This is your country that your American ancestors won with their own courage, defended with their own blood, and built with their own hands. From the jagged peaks of the Rocky Mountains to the gleaming waters of the Great Lakes, from the majestic valleys of California to the beautiful hill country of Texas.
Texas.
From the stark prairies of the Great Plains to the
Stark prairies? What the hell's a stark prairie?
banks of the Rio.
Prairies are full of things. Wide open spaces with ground cover. Stark. A desert could be stark. A prairie's not stark.
Grand, which is under siege also, isn't it?
Yeah, the Rio
And
Grande's
from the
under siege.
magnificent skyscrapers of New York and Chicago and LA to the beauty right here of the storied Alamo, we inherit the legacy of generations of American patriots.
Remember, Trump's people organized a trip to go to Alamo, Texas, and they thought the Alamo was in Alamo, Texas. That's where they thought they were going. And so the people of Alamo were like, what's he coming here? What is this something to do with the border wall? What is happening?
Who poured everything they had into the nation that they loved. They scaled the summits, they forged the rivers, they crossed the sweltering deserts, braved blistering winters, conquered an unknown wilderness, and settled the great frontier. They laid down the railroads, they built out the highways, and they turned tiny villages towering into great magnificent buildings of iron and steel, like nobody is in. Tiny villages towering into great turned tiny villages they built out the highways, and they turned tiny villages towering into great magnificent buildings of iron and steel like nobody had ever seen before. They did it all to make
deserts and sun are blistering? I've lived through a lot of Canadian winters, and I don't remember the winters causing blistering. I guess maybe that like a blizzard? Blizzarding winters, maybe he was supposed to say? I do know that towering was not part of that sentence.
Make America into the greatest and most exceptional nation in the history of the world. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that is hurting very, very badly. We are a nation that has the highest inflation in over 40 years. And where the stock market just finished the worst first half of the year since 1872. Likewise, we are a nation that has the highest energy cost in its history. We are no longer energy independent or energy dominant.
By their standards, that we are.
As we were just
energy independent. No one knows what energy dominance means.
2 short years ago. We are a nation that is begging Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, and many others for oil. Please, please, please help us, Joe Biden says. And yet we...
By the way, not only was the unemployment rate the lowest since 1969 at 3.5%, released this week, twice the number of jobs were created than we thought. More than 500,000 new jobs last month.
We have more liquid gold right under our feet.
And then that'll be adjusted.
Than any other country in the world.
That's not true. That's not true at all. It's Venezuela. We are 11th in terms of liquid gold under our feet.
Nation that is consumed by the radical left's Green New Deal. Yet everyone knows that the Green New Deal will lead to our destruction. We're a nation that surrendered in Afghanistan, leaving behind dead soldiers, American citizens, and $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment in the world. And we are a nation that allowed Russia...
Which was your arrangement. You made the arrangement to arm the Iraqi government. The Afghan government. Their army. That was you, buddy. You also made the deal with the Taliban to give them a country without negotiating with the Afghans.
To devastate a country, Ukraine, killing hundreds of thousands of people. And it will only get worse. it would never have happened with me as your commander-in-chief.
Then you should have won the election.
And for 4 long years, it didn't. And China with Taiwan
He's right, though. They were very long years.
is next. Would also never have happened. We are a nation that has weaponized its law enforcement like never before against the opposing political party. We are a nation that no longer has a free press.
It's always about personal vendettas.
No longer has a fair press.
Welcome, Abdul.
Fake news is all we get, and they are the enemy of the people. We are a nation where free speech is no longer allowed, where crime is rampant.
Says the guy who's free speeching right now.
Like never before, where the economy has been
That's his fifth like never before in this speech alone.
collapsing at a rate that few have ever seen.
Yep, that's
Where
number
more
6, I
people
think.
died of COVID.
They were the weapons. No one's ever seen anything like them before. The election was like no one's ever seen before. The caravans, like nothing we've ever seen before. This nonsense, twice, like we've never seen before. And then one other time. I can't, it was like so long ago in the speech. We've been broadcasting now for 14 hours. So it was a while ago.
But in 2021, then died in 2020. We're a nation that is allowing Iran to build, where more people died of COVID in 2021 than died in 2020.
Right.
We're a nation that is allowing Iran to build a massive nuclear weapon, which they are incredibly being allowed to do right now, and I had it stopped.
No, you didn't. You tore up the deal, idiot.
And China to use the trillions and trillions of dollars it has taken from us prior to our administration, and it's happening again, to build a military that will more than rival our own.
More than rival our own.
And just 2 years ago, we had a
More than rival. I don't know. I don't know what that would be. It's not a concept with which I'm familiar.
It's happening again. To build a military that will more than rival our own. And just 2 years ago, we had Iran, China, Russia, and North Korea in check. And they weren't going to do a thing against us. And everyone knows it. And perhaps most importantly, we are a nation that is no longer respected or listened to around the world.
Really? Because Finland and Sweden, after 50 years, decided to join NATO with Biden in charge of NATO. And Erdogan of Turkey did not want them in. He wanted to blackball them. Biden called him. Erdogan changed his mind. Took 5 minutes. But yeah, tell me more about how we're not respected anymore.
We are a nation that in many ways has become a joke. We are a nation that is hostile to liberty, freedom,
I can think of one way.
and faith. We are a nation that allows men to play sports on women's teams and to dominate them.
Okay.
We are a nation whose airports are a disaster, whose flights never leave on time,
They do.
and whose passengers are stranded all over the country.
No.
We are in many ways a third world nation.
Right, but remember how you gave all that money to the airlines during COVIDs? That was you, sir.
We're a nation whose economy is floundering, whose supply chain
And what did they do? They got rid of a bunch of pilots. Laid off a ton of staff.
is broken, whose stores are not stocked, whose deliveries are not coming, and whose educational system is
Is that what he calls Melania now?
ranked at the bottom of every single list.
We're not.
But we are not going to let this continue.
Could be a lot better.
2 years ago, we had the greatest in our nation. We had something that was so
2 years ago, we had the greatest in our nation. It was. America, under Trump, was up 43%. Fact. Is that what he said? Is that what he said? We hit the greatest in our nation?
let this continue. 2 years ago, we had the greatest in our nation. We had something that was so incredible. We had the greatest people in our nation fighting like they've never fought before. They had spirit. They had hope. But we will soon have that greatness again. We will soon have that greatness again.
What the fuck?
America's comeback begins this November.
What the fuck was that? What was he trying to say? What did he read and then have to cover it up with verbal kitty litter? What? We had 2 years ago, we had the greatest in our nation. Ever. It was like something nobody had ever seen.
And it will continue onward with the unstoppable momentum that we're going to develop on November 2024, because that's the big one.
That's the big one.
We are going to keep on working. We are going to keep on fighting. We are going to keep on winning. And we are going to get our country back. As long as we can not lose our spirit, our movement will never be defeated. This is the greatest movement. MAGA. This is the greatest movement in the history of our country. Greatest in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. Probably you could say it's the greatest or one of the greatest in the history of the world. And it's interesting because sometimes I'll make a comment.
Give me a second. I'm going to post that to the Twitters. It did not record that, so it's all very bad. That's what my computer recorded. So, let's what happened there? I don't know. I do want to go back and get that though. It's not that far. Does it give me a time code on it? Hold on. I can try and fix
Comment
it.
and I'll be challenged. History, anything like this is the great. Never be defeated. Not lose or back. We're going to keep on working. On November begins this November. Have that greatness. We had something that was so going to let this continue. 2 years ago, the system is ranked at the bottom of every single list. But we are not going to let this continue. 2 years ago, we had the greatest in our nation. We had something that was so incredible. We had the greatest people in our nation fighting like they've never fought before. They had spirit. They had hope. But we will soon have that greatness again. Like they incredible. We had the greatest patient. 2 years the system is ranked at the bottom of every single list. But we are not going to let this continue. 2 years ago, we had the greatest in our nation. We had something that was so incredible. We had the greatest people in our nation fighting like they've never fought before. They had spirit. They had hope. But we will soon have that greatness again. We will. The history of our country. There's never been anything like it. Probably you could say it's the greatest or one of the greatest in the history of the world.
Am I? Is it working? There. Okay. Yeah, we're back. Let me just check the audio on this clip. No, crap. It's. What the hell? It's not recording the audio when I record clips. Damn it. Oh wait. Oh well.
And it's interesting because sometimes I'll make a comment and I'll be challenged so strongly by the fake news. But they never even challenged me on that. I've never been challenged. I look at them right now. A lot of viewers watching. They've never challenged me. It's the greatest movement in the history of our country by far.
I mean, women's suffrage, the abolition of slavery, the war efforts, sure.
And it will only get stronger with each passing day. And with the help of all of you here tonight and the millions of patriots all across our land, we will make America powerful again.
Yeah. Make America wealthy again?
We will make America wealthy again.
Yeah. Strong?
We will make America strong again.
Sounds good. I like it. I like it.
We will make
What else you got?
America
Safe?
proud
Oh,
again.
proud. What about safe? I want to be safe.
We will make America safe,
Safe
again.
Again. Okay, and then round it all up.
And we
Will
will make America
What?
great again.
Did not
Thank
see
you
that
very
coming.
much.
Did not see
Thank
that
you.
coming.
Thank you very much. God bless you all. Thank you.
Cue the music. That's that. Oh, we did it. Let me pull up the clip again and see if it's still not recording the audio. Yeah. Make America wealthy again? Yeah, it's recording my microphone, but it's not recording the internal audio. So, super dumb. Super duper dumb. I'm sorry, is that what I sound like? Is that my voice? I don't sound like that. Okay, kids. That's it. What time is it? 6:43. I think it's too late for a movie night tonight. We'll figure something out. So tomorrow there's more CPAC, I think. Or maybe he was the keynote. Maybe that's it for CPAC. Is it done now? Hold on. See CPAC. Yeah, it's just going to a blank screen for CPAC. Let's. I just want to go back and. There's Chrissy Nome. Always good for a laugh. I just want to go back and see if that swimmer was... Okay, here we go.
Like we just said, use your voice. This is something that's so important, and it's happening very rapidly. And so if it's not handled now, it will spiral downhill and out of control, like we're already seeing. So, I mean...
I don't think you can spiral downhill.
It's only a matter of time before...
Did I forget what? Phil had to leave, but we'll play for him tomorrow. Phil had to leave. Oh, okay, yeah. Kevin, did I forget what? Jojo, what did I forget? Yeah, we did movie night last night, yes. But I was just thinking, like, Saturday night, hot, maybe watch a movie. That's what I was thinking. But it's getting late. I gotta go charge producer Jojo's car, because she let me use it today.
One transgender athlete wins a national title before it's 3, and then 5, and so on. And so...
Right, that's the way numbers work.
Let's handle this while we can.
Yeah, don't be afraid to speak up. Because although I've received a lot of hate on the internet, the support I've received has been far greater, and I think that's really important for people to understand that the people who disagree and who want to label us as hateful when this is an issue of fairness, they're the loudest online, but in real life, most of us understand how
most of us here at CPAC
simple this really is. And we all need to speak up, because if we don't, then they don't hear us. Right. But we got to do the right thing and protect.
That's the way speaking works, yes.
Young girls, protect athletes, protect the next generation of girls, and we have to use our voice to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Riley and Taylor, thank you so much. Y'all are just terrific. We're honored to have you here.
Thank you.
Oh, I want to know more about this lady. Oh, she's gone now. I don't know what happened. We shall see. Okay, I don't want to get a copyright strike for whatever that is. Oh, Dr. Fauci spoke. No, he did not. I don't know what that is. Anyway, kids. Yeah, we had movie night last night. I forgot what we watched now. Wait, what did we watch? We didn't watch the Tom... What did we watch last night? I've totally forgotten what we watched. Oh, A League of Their Own, of course. Yeah, League of Their Own. I totally forgot about it because it feels like a movie I watched 30 years ago, which I did. Is it 30 years old? When did it come out? 93? So not quite 30 years old. Anyway, enjoyable movie. I do want to watch those Tom Hanks movies that we haven't seen yet, so maybe I'll do that. But there was a reason we didn't watch one of the Tom Hanks last night, the robot one. the End of the World Robot Tom Hanks movie. Anyway, yeah, League of Their Own, good movie. I enjoyed. A lot of movies made back then that they don't seem as realistic as today's movies in terms of how they're shot, how they're put together, some of the acting, like stuff that would never play today. You played League of Their Own for Phil this morning? Cool. So good night, Phil. Good night, everybody else. You can tell Phil the drinking word is sir. There's plenty of sir stories in this one. So drink up, Phil. Have yourself a great night, everybody. And, oh, that's right. Stephanie, we changed our plans because Stephanie had a hassle issue. Well, no, which was fun because League of Their Own, everybody could watch, and it was very, very enjoyable. Quite a good night. Speaking of good night, everybody. Be good to yourself, be good to others. Most importantly,